go. Around about there, I think. Boosh. Nothing like clickbait. In what way is that clickbait? I enjoy Final Fantasy VII original more than the remake, so when I play the original, I'll be like, oh, that's the one I enjoy. I feel like that's like the opposite of clickbait. It's precisely what's involved in the content. What's up, everybody? Speaking of which, here we go. Let's turn down music. There we go. Perfect. Sup, you perverts? Word. Oh, okay, that's a good question, actually. Asking in the chat where you can find the previous streams. So I'm gonna have to start uploading them to a stream archive channel so people can watch them, because I've had that question a few times, and I didn't really think anybody cared to watch them, but if you do, fuck it, might as well, right? What's up, Creamy Elephant? How you doing, man? A couple other people in here. I noticed Brian's in here. Black Flame 450. Michael Clark said, always appreciate your deep dive on the games you cover. Well, fuck yeah. That's really the only way I could do it. If I'm interested, I zone in on it. You know what I mean? So it's good to be appreciated, I guess. Because it's going to get a rise out of people. I can't spend all day making sure that nobody's pissed off that I feel a certain way. Not clickbait. It'll be fun to see why you prefer OG versus remake. It's actually fairly simple. I feel like this is a tighter, more concise story than the remake, and it is by design because they made remake to be episodic, and because it's episodic, they're obviously going to have to stretch a few things out. Whereas this had a very tight pace, a very, strict. How to explain it? The events in the story take place in a very satisfying pace, right? Like, as the story is taking place, your brain doesn't have a lot of time to study the exact dimensions of every single thing that's going on. You're like, okay, fuck, Aerith got captured, we gotta head over there, right? Whereas in the remake, because they give you so much time in between each story event, you have a lot of time to sit around and just fucking start thinking about shit. Hey, Mr. Gone Fatine, what's up, man? Jared is very deep. I go deep. The title is Cringe and Cope. Which one of those is good to be? Oh yeah, man, I really enjoy all your content. I'd like to catch the streams I missed because of work. Yeah, you know what? I gotta make a note for myself to say. I've been, in fairness, I've been wanting to do that for a while. I just been fucked up. Opinion on other Final Fantasy titles. I think Final Fantasy V is probably the most underrated game in the series as far as good quality. 8 dislikes. Yeah, if you talk shit about FF7 Remake, they come in droves. Let me grab my controller. Somewhere around here. There we go. Never played FF7 before. Really? Okay, so we're about to show you a very good video game. So I had a new game started. Let's do this. Let's ask you guys what you think. I had a game started that was roundabout at the end of the Midgar area and heading into Disc 2. You guys want to do that, or should we just start a new game? Because I'd be fine with either, to be honest with you. I want a Ghost in the Shell game. Oh, God. You know what? So it's interesting because most of Ghost in the Shell, most of what makes it interesting for me is the political drama of it, which I really enjoy, and not as much. There's maybe one fist fight or shootout per episode. It'd be hard to make a video game, but it'd be very easy to make a TV show, which they do all the time. Which version of FF7 is this? No, this is the PS1 original. The remake should have never been made episodic. Yeah, you preaching to the choir there, buddy. Oh shit, what's up, Hermit? How you doing, man? Start fresh. Yeah, it's weird. Holy shit. All I did was make it a title. Nobody even knows the content of this stream yet. They just disliked it immediately. Oh well, we're having fun, right? Okay, see? Meridian Norfair. I hope my wife is on right now. She's saying, okay, you have to name Barrett after me. And I don't want to because I hate renaming characters in RPGs. Oh, God, I'm glad there's one person who at least agrees with me. A lot of people saying new game. Triple said new FGay, which I assume is Pig Latin for new game. Political drama and intrigue is the heart of Gits for me. Oh, for sure. Yeah, that's what does it for me. If you start throwing around like a bunch of 3-letter acronyms in like a government office, forget about it. I'm hooked. I'm not renaming him. Meridian Norfair is in with me. He's like, you got to get mad at him too. I gave the streams a thumbs up though. All right, well that evens it out, right? Game Shiba 420. I agree with you. Fuck yeah. I got the 420 community behind me. What's up now? Why is the remake bad? I don't think it's bad. It's just not as good as the original. I dislike both FF7 and you, Jared. Well, at least you're consistent with that, for sure. Let's go ahead and start a new game. Everybody seemed to be down with that. Why would you want to play 120 plus hours of a linear gameplay? I doubt it opens up on later releases. No, I don't think it will either. But to be fair, not to argue with you as, oh shit. Well, if it isn't the guy who spells his name incorrectly, Jared from Retro Revolutions, what's up, man? So not to disagree too much, but I would say there are plenty of really good linear video games. So I don't think linearity is exactly a bad thing. But like you said, 120 hours of linearity, maybe that might be the issue. So my allergies have been kind of bothering me, so I apologize if I sniffle a lot. Oh, you know what? Let's see if the chat box works the way I want it to. The good and complete one. There you go. I should have said the complete one. That would have been the less what's the word? What the fuck I was talking about? I don't know. Always show messages. How many messages deep do we want? Let's do like 50. I think it'll open up when you get to the overworld. Josh, I'll be honest with you. I don't think that they're going to change the entirety of the gameplay from a blueprints point of view for the next game. I don't think it's going to happen. I think we're going to get the same exact thing we got this time, or else they're not going to be able to keep pumping them out. Like, they're not going to be able to keep releasing wholly unique RPGs like this. You know what I mean? That's just, if they're having issues releasing the remake as it is, just imagine them having to create wholly new and unique games with different gameplay styles. It's just not going to happen. Mr. Gohan Fate Team with $10. Thank you very much, man. I'm officially graduated. I'm thinking about approaching a new writing style. Wait, graduated from like college, high school? What? That's killer. Approaching a new writing style, making books about all the survivors before Raccoon City, and Volume 9 is emotional in Dragon Ball Z. For those of you that don't know, Mr. Gohan Fate Team is writing an epic tale about my escapades called Dragon Ball Z. Honestly, the title is all that matters. People need to stop thinking every new shit is the best shit ever. You know what? Honestly, I would say, and this might sound like a mean thing to say for everybody, Yukari Joel, with 199. Thank you very much. FF7 Remake section of Midgar was better. Cringe title. I disagree. Not only do I disagree, I would assume a majority of people who played the original FF7 would probably disagree as well. And that's not trying to say like, oh, everyone's against you. I'm saying that there's a possibility you played something new and interesting and got caught up in that, but I think there's a huge possibility you haven't played Final Fantasy VII in a long time. Like I said in my video, I played FF7 alongside FF7 Remake to make sure that I wasn't just using nostalgia to blind me. And I will tell you right now, from a satisfying video game standpoint, Final Fantasy VII Original has a much more well-paced story. It has a much more solid gameplay track. It has a much better soundtrack, which is crazy to think about. Because I like some of the remixes and remake, but a lot of them, while being good songs on their own, miss the tone of the originals, and that's a sin in my opinion, because a lot of these songs work so well because of the emotional context you put them in through the idea of them existing in this video game. Whereas in the remake, you'll have what used to be somber sound a little more like upbeat, and that's a sin, man. Horizon Zero Dawn's a killer game. Have I played it yet? Yeah, I liked Horizon Zero Dawn, actually. I finished FF7 in 2019. Alright. I'm not saying you didn't. Well, I did say you didn't before, but knowing that now, it's a little harder to say. So there's a chance that I'm being subjective, but I think it's pretty widely agreed upon. There are a lot of mistakes made in FF7 Remake, which is hilarious because it's a remake and you would assume, okay, just go by what the blueprints of the original was, and there you go. You have a game that is at the very least as successful as the original, and FF7 Remake is not as successful as the original. So I would say that the people have spoken at the very least, and Josine, I'm not renaming Barret. Fuck. I kind of want to now, though. Have I looked into FF7 on PC with the remake mod? It's the backgrounds are upscaled using AI. Okay, so Drowsy CS, I will say that is interesting to me, the AI upscaled backgrounds, but I do not like the new 3D models they use in that mod. Ah, oh, damn it. I do not want to rename my characters though, Josine. Donovan, the same goes for you. I hate renaming my characters. I'm not doing it. You know what? There is a time and a place when a man must put his fucking foot down and do whatever it was that I was just talking about, because I forgot. People complain about nostalgia and stuff. I can't wait to see their faces when RE4 Remake hits the market. Oh, yeah, exactly. A lot of that's gonna... So I've been finding that a lot of my arguments get used against me depending on what game's coming out. I found that with the RE3 remake. So I can't wait for the RE4 remake to come out and people to complain that it's not the same, or it's too different, or it's too similar, or whatever the fuck the issue's gonna be. Mr. Go On Fatine, thank you so much, man. $50, that's a big fucking deal, bro. High school, and what would you want to see in a story about the survivors before Raccoon City? And I got to continue your epic tale, keep my Madman story, but I also want to create a story with Kevin and like Ark last super chat probably. Well, I appreciate the hell out of it, man. You definitely went out with a bang. I would say the most interesting thing I always find about like zombie stories in zombie media is what people did beforehand in their regular lives. Like if you start out a book with people kind of living their everyday lives, it gives a lot of context to when there's a giant world-ending zombie outbreak, right? So I would say you got to focus on that for sure. There's a special place in hell for people who rename their characters in RPGs. See, people get this. They understand. Okay, see? Cyan said the same thing. Don't rename... Listen, okay, I am receiving unanimous support on this subject. Holy shit, what a cool video that would be. Yo, do you or do you not rename your RPG characters? A deep dive into storytelling and names, I guess. Oh, straight up, Donovan, that's a true story that Josine's telling right now in the chat. Oh shit, Dominic, what's up, man? How you doing? Finally the one to say it. FF8 is wonderful. Yeah, I like FF8. I don't think it's as good as Final Fantasy VII. It's a less tight story, and then subjectively, it's characters I care about less. You know, a good story will make me care about its characters, even if I don't technically like them. Put them in a situation that might be universal that I could sympathize with. But With 7, you don't really have to do that because I like every character. I like the way they're written. I don't know. FF8 just doesn't do the right thing. And I mean, there's a lot of pitfalls in FF8 too. They were really trying hard to emulate like late 90s, early 2000s J-drama storytelling motifs, and I didn't get into that as much as this. But FF7, you know, I think it's probably a better story than most RPGs I've ever played because it was written from a place of like dead serious love and real emotion. Whereas I think a lot of RPG stories get told with people going like, oh, you know, it'd be a really cool idea. What if like blah, 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 blah. Where FF7 went into it and it was like, Sakaguchi lost his mom. What the fuck are you gonna do? Ah, god damn it. Like, he writes a story about how people maybe aren't really gone after they die. You know what I mean? You could see the grieving process taking place throughout the game. It's incredible. I replayed 10 recently. I was blown away by how deep it is. Man, see, you know, 10 I would say is probably my least favorite pre-FF13 storyline. I like the idea behind, like the concept of beating Sin, and Sin is this ever-recurring constant. Like, I like that idea. I don't know. I didn't think the characters were as cool this time around. You know what my big problem is? I had a real big bias against that whole early 2000s island theme that every RPG seemed to have had. For some reason, everything was like an island tropical theme. Every main character wore shorts, apparently, throughout this period of time. And I just could not stand that aesthetic, so that probably eats into that. The way some of these characters talk in FF7 reminds me of 90s MTV cringe sometimes. Well, I mean, the people responsible for translating it, that's probably where their social context was. That's where all of our social context was, you know? I mean, you have to keep things in perspective, because at the time, while there were people who played video games who got immense, deep satisfaction from the stories they told, these stories weren't necessarily being told as this respected medium for writing, right? I mean, FF6 was incredibly deep and serious, but I mean, it was the odd man out. And FF7 kind of started a trend of like, okay, maybe we can make a lot of money with these dead serious deep dives into real emotional concepts, you know what I mean? I mean, we've been making video games for the longest time for a serious crowd. Not serious as in like hardcore gamers. I mean, serious as in like, this is a story that's not so much meant to invoke like a hyperactive response in your fucking, I don't know, what gland deals with excitement? I don't fucking know. Yeah, I think it's interesting. This approach was wholly unique around that time as far as big budget, highly publicized, advertised games go. But see, look at the aesthetic we're looking at right now, right? A lot of the things on screen right now would be ridiculous in a more realistic light. And I can tell you that from experience from playing FF7 Remake. Whereas here, the dimensions are a little more... Oh shit, I'm sorry, I missed that super chat. Oh, okay, it's just showing up on screen. Ryan, thank you so much, man. Sleeping Dongs Trophy Hunt. I see what you did there, and I like it. No, but like these character models with their highly exaggerated proportions look right contextually, because everything around them looks the same as they do, right? Whereas in FF7 Remake, you have a situation where the characters look hyper-realistic, aside from the eyes. A lot of times in Japanese-made games that are hyper-realistic, the eyes are where they make sure the realism counts, which is fucking weird for me. But it throws off the feel of the world as being legitimate and real, which makes no sense, because look what we're looking at right now. Our character's like 3 inches tall, right? He's super deformed. But it works. It fits so well into the aesthetic of the world, whereas FF7 Remake, you have this hard disconnect. You have the real world. You have Cloud talking to Jesse, and then you have robots made up of different segments of pipes. You know what I mean? Like those two things don't fit well together in the real world, right? My biggest gripe with 7 Remake is that it being split into multiple games, each selling full price. Yeah, no, I mean, like, I get where you're coming from there. I would say not so much from a consumer advocacy position, but more in a storytelling position. I would say it makes less sense to make it episodic because they haven't added a lot of value to the remake. A lot of the same story beats are there, and the things that are, how to put this, the things that they have added to elongate the story, I don't think are valuable as far as the story goes. It just doesn't, it feels like added bullshit a lot of the times. Other than, I will make one exception. I think Jess's backstory and the stuff with her parents, I think that fits with the story. That would have fit in perfectly with the original game, I feel like. But there's like fucking dementors like keeping the time continuum running or some shit, and they actually fight the physical manifestation of destiny. Like, what are you gonna do in the next game? You've already like, you've pitted the characters against a esoteric concept in reality. Like, what are you doing at the end of the next game? It's, god damn it, it's such fucking bullshit. It's Kingdom Hearts disorder, where every game has to end on this moment of friendship and everybody figures out, we gotta fight this thing together. Yeah, credits roll. It's like, okay, maybe some of us have grown up since the 90s, and maybe, I don't know, you could take the original story that works. Wait, what? Oh, okay. Black Flame, my wife is informing me that you're asking what the best console to play Tactics on is. And I would say either the digital copies you can get off of PSN or the PS1 original. The PSP, I guess you can call it remake, maybe remaster is a better word. It tends to suffer from a lot of slowdown, which is weird. And they did a lot of things to change dialogue to make it sound more medieval, I guess. Which isn't the worst thing in the world, right? But, it's not, I guess it's not my favorite. I would have rather of them went a different direction with that and just, but that's because I'm so familiar with the original. Ikari Joel, fun fact, changes were Kitase's idea, not Nomura's. I mean, they were bad ideas, and I'm not really crediting one person for being responsible for the terrible things that went into the remake, but I do think that they were bad moves to make. And if it was Tetsuya Nomura, then I would blame his affinity for constantly making Kingdom Hearts games. But if it was Yoshinori Kitase, I don't really... Either way, it was a bad fucking idea. But they seemed like amateur storytelling mistakes, which is very odd to have, like, veteran storytellers in there just pumping out a really bad story. And not like a bad story like, I don't agree with where the story went. It was like a poorly told, poorly paced story in 2020 for a game that cost multiple millions of dollars. That's fucking unforgivable. Battlescar, I don't know. There's only 2 extra jobs. Was it Onion Knight and there's one other, I forget. I don't know if the extra jobs is worth it for me for the slowdown that takes place in battle. It's bad. And I don't understand why the slowdown is present. They could have just ran it on the emulation layer. Although it is nice seeing Final Fantasy Tactics in 16:9 and not stretched, by the way. That's the coolest part. PSP version of Tactics. See, okay, if you like the added job system and the added dialogues, again, more power to you. But I will say, from a technical standpoint, the frame rate issues are enough for me to put the game down. Although there is a patch that will allow you to fix the slowdown, which is all it took was a patch, which is interesting. But it's like a user-made patch, so you have to be running custom firmware. Can we equip this? Dope. I really, really liked how Barrett's weapons all looked exactly the same. They did a lot with giving Cloud new weapons, but in Remake, I loved seeing the assault gun. Can you do a video why Resident Evil is awesome? To be honest with you, I feel like that's what the retrospective is. It's a very long, like 9-hour video if you put them all together on why Resident Evil is awesome. I don't like how Sephiroth showed up so much in the remake. And you know what the worst part about him showing up so much is? It's not even that he's there, because some people may be a big fan of the character and may like him having a stronger presence in the story, and I get that. That makes sense, you know. Like I like Yuffie as a character, so it'd be interesting to see her get, you know, screen time. But the problem with remake is they don't contextualize Sephiroth in that world's story. So here's the duality of remake that makes no sense to me. So you have this story that everyone's familiar with, and for some reason you have it stuck in your mind that you have to alter this story, right? Now, you know you're automatically pissing off the people who are fans of the original. Like, you, by definition, you have to. Because these people said, here's a story I enjoy. And they said, oh, we're remaking that story. And you're like, oh, I'm glad, because I really like that story. It's different, though. Okay, well, don't fucking remake it then, asshole. Fuck you. How about that? But what they've done is, in the process of pissing off everyone who liked the original story by altering it, they've also made that story almost unintelligible to anyone who's not familiar with the original story. So if you didn't already know the relationship between Cloud and Sephiroth, I will give you a little bit of information here. They only tell you via one dialogue scene in one cutscene how Cloud is related to Sephiroth in any way, shape, or form, and they don't even hint at how important Sephiroth is in Cloud's life. Now, should they have mentioned that stuff in the remake? No, I don't think so. But by having him show up to so much fanfare, like this huge, powerful, important person, and never telling us why that is, that's not like, oh, we're leaving a cliffhanger, because the game doesn't end on a cliffhanger. It ends on a relatively, I guess, like, I wouldn't say satisfying note, but it ends on an ending of a game note, right? And it sets up for a sequel, sure, but they don't leave any cliffhangers for you to hang on to. So what we have now is Sephiroth existing in a game that he's given no context to exist in, and you're just expected to think he's fucking incredible, because every time he shows up, there's horns playing, just an immense amount of fanfare. And if you're making this game for newcomers, they're going to be scratching their head like, who is this guy? You know, like, not everybody is super familiar with, you know, Seven's lore. I mean, I'm sure it's become more and more popular, but you're releasing a mainstream video game, and mainstream people who play mainstream video games aren't necessarily giant fans of Japanese turn-based role-playing games. Real talk, I played through FF7 a dozen times and I have no idea what Sephiroth's relation to Cloud is. Cloud is essentially cloned from Sephiroth. He's a failed clone, which is what makes the ending of 7 so fucking emotional. How the fuck did you beat that game, Donovan? It makes the ending of FF7 so much more emotional because Cloud is essentially the failed experiment that's beating the successful experiment. My friends who have never played the original FF7 was confused when... Okay, so at least my experimental ideas have played themselves out in real life now. Cloud is indeed hung. Like a fucking horse he's hung. Why do you think girls are fighting over him? You think he's got an award-winning personality? Is this a video essay on FF7 disguised as a stream? Yeah, which is... How many dislikes are we at right now? I can't check, but you guys check for me. No, I have a shit ton of feelings on the remake, and a lot of stuff I couldn't necessarily fit into my video, because my video was going to be more as a comparison between the two, and less of a denigration of either one of them. So I have a lot of feelings that I've yet to be able to get out. What about Cloud's mom, though? You know what? Is that ever explained? That might be a very solid point. Okay, genetically modified. Okay, I can take that. He was his own person before that. Okay, there you go. He has a portion of Sephiroth's DNA inside of him, essentially. Honestly, I love both this and remake. I'm excited to see what they change. They should have advertised it as a semi-sequel like Mortal Kombat 9. Honestly, and that's the scummy thing, is they knew they weren't going to sell copies of it if they said, by the way, this is going to be nothing like what you're expecting. So yeah, it was a shitty advertising move. I don't know why I've always loved this scene. You know, when you're playing on an old CRT through composite video, you couldn't tell the difference in quality between when the CG stopped and the pre-rendered background started. And I just felt like, wow, I mean, these graphics are fucking incredible. For me, graphics in a video game have never been like, oh, it's 3D, I can get in there and zoom in on every little part of it. Like, just create a scene like this one right here. The lighting is right, the mood is right, the proportions all seem correct. Like, that's good graphics to me. So when people say like, oh, it's dated looking, I'm like, in what way? This is still aesthetically pleasing in 2020, you know? I get obviously the meaning of those words. Like, it is dated in the sense that it is old as fuck, but I feel like dated kind of brings like a lot of negativity with it, and these aren't dated graphics to me. These still, right now, upscaled into 1080p, look fucking incredible to me, genuinely. Why is the soundtrack of the original better than the remake? There's actually an interesting musical theory reason behind that. Simpler music with less complicated note structure tends to stick in your mind more. And if you add the fact that most of us played this as a teenager and we went through a lot of emotional changes at the time, we probably put a lot of emotional stock in the original. And that also being said, because let's turn this up a little bit, because it's a fucking incredible soundtrack, and you only get soundtracks on this level, you only get every so often. You really don't. You don't get the FF7 soundtrack very often in video games. This song specifically, this part of the game specifically. I didn't mean to do that, by the way. I'm an asshole. I feel bad now. This part right here. Every time I play this game, I stop right here and just walk around. Because when I first played the game, I was seeing this, and that shock like arced over the wire, and the music that's playing, and then there's a slight reverb set to the sound effect of the electricity arcing like that, and it just fucking fits so well. God damn it, I love this game. I really don't like that they dove so deep into concepts that didn't need to be deepened also. Like, the idea of Avalanche existing as this giant terrorist cell, it's like you're stretching a lot of suspension of disbelief at that point, you know? It's like these things were mentioned for a reason and weren't expanded upon for a very specific reason. And by telling the story and going into more detail there, you're risking ruining what was, like, for example, okay, you have a cake that's baked, it's ice, it's ready to go. And someone says, I want to change something in the center of the cake. It would be hard for you to change something in the center of the cake without completely altering the outward appearance of the cake, right? Fall to Beer Droid 69. Will I fall myself? You survive. Find out in Dragon Ball Z. God, I wish I had that guy's voice. That'd be sick. In my eyes, the remake is a fine game, but the lies, episodic structure, and controversial choices with the story make it a lot harder to recommend. I can agree with that. And like I said in my video, I enjoy it despite a few pretty hard nitpicks. I enjoy it as an action RPG. I wish a lot of the times it was trying to be FF7 is when I found it the most annoying, honestly. Which I know sounds weird, because I am in love with Final Fantasy VII. It's one of my favorite video games of all time. Not only that, I tend to try to separate myself from the game emotionally and try to really think on ways why it's fucking an important video game. Like, it brought video gaming to the mainstream, which was not an easy thing to do back then. I think a lot of people tend to they tend to forget that video games used to be this thing that you weren't allowed to talk about, right? Like, it didn't used to be this like, oh shit, yeah, did you play the remake? It was like, hey, you play video games? Like, You weren't really allowed to go around blabbing about how much you read comic books and played video games. Trust me, it did not end well. That makes no sense to me. They can barely afford to pay Cloud, but they have different factions. They are militant. Yeah, and not only that, but they show up in Shinra, like, controlled areas and receive 0 military pushback. Like, that's odd as fuck, right? Who remembers how bad the soundtrack was on FF7 when it came to PC? So for the longest time, I didn't own the PC version. I owned the PC version. I had to deal with that soundtrack, so nobody understands that better than me. Josh, I completely agree. Avalanche felt very cool because it was Barrett's thing, and it seems weird that a terrorist cell that has like access to helicopters and weaponry would also meet out of Tifa 7th Heaven, right? Like, this is smart right here. This is like the opposite of Mission Impossible. This is a bunch of people just using guerrilla warfare tactics. And then in the remake, it's like, oh yeah, we have the backing of like this giant fucking paramilitary corporation behind us. Like, okay, well that seems a little weirder. I have no nostalgia for OG FF7. I had a blast replaying it. I think it stands on its own. I genuinely do. I wish that I had the ability to just like erase my memories and experience it for the first time with a more, I guess, analytical tinge to my thinking. I would love to see if this game holds up for me for the first time, as if like a game that I'm totally unfamiliar with. That would be so interesting to see, you know? Yeah, the MIDI soundtrack with the PC, and it depended on what MIDI driver you used too. Very not ideal situation, especially for a game that had such an amazing soundtrack. And I guess storage space was an issue, and why they didn't have rendered music files instead of the PC interpretation of the MIDI. I don't know. It seems like a weird corner cutting tactic, right? Am I playing on an emulator or on console? So this is on the PS2, using component video output to a FrameMeister, upscaled to 960p. Mr. Go on Fatine, thank you very much, man. $5, you sweetheart. I don't suppose you could do a voiceover for my Resident Evil book. If you or Scorpion could do that, I'd be so amazing. Your voices would fit well. Yeah, I could do some voice work, sure. I mean, I've never done it before, so I can't guarantee I'd be good. Oh. Girth Crisis remake. God damn it, Girth Crisis is funny no matter who you are. Rufus funds Avalanche in Before Crisis. See, that's why Before Crisis wasn't very good, and no one ever actually played it except for some weird RPG Maker remake. Yeah, I think the what do they call it? It's not the collection of Final Fantasy VII. It's the something. I totally forget the name they gave it, but this idea that Final Fantasy VII needs all this expansion on its fucking narrative is just so wrong. They did so much harm to the story by expanding on it so heavy. Like, oh God, I wasn't though. To be fair, I was not. Like, this was a very tight, cohesive story. And while it did span 3 discs, and it was like a fucking, 60 to 80 hour RPG, it was a very tight and very emotional story. And they're going in, you're digging at little pieces of it. And it's like, those pieces were there for a fucking reason. And they worked in that order. Cameron Culligan, I thought you were streaming on Twitch today. I was thinking about it. I streamed on Twitch last, and I've been trying to do one on, one off, so people on either platform don't feel like I'm cheating them. You know what I mean? I should probably stop talking and playing the game more. But to be fair, I kind of just do this to talk to you guys, so. Crisis Core felt so much like filler, and it was. It totally was filler. because I mean it kind of had to be by design. Like you're taking a story that already exists and then you're working in a very narrow margin that was left, and you're saying like, here's all the things that happen in that margin. It's like, maybe there's a reason those things were left out, you know? I was playing Lufia and this popped up. Oh, fuck yeah. You know what's crazy is as a kid, I never understood Lufia. I was like, wait a minute, this is like a JRPG, but it's mostly puzzles? I don't get it. Oh, there you go. See, the emphasis on pointless trivia like Loveless. Yes, it was incredibly boring because it was just this thing that sort of kind of barely existed in the world. God, I love this music and this atmosphere so fucking much. This CG with the train driving around the pillar. I'm usually pretty good at determining when I'm being emotionally manipulated by nostalgia. I can't tell in this situation because I've replayed this game so many times. I can't tell when I'm truly emotionally moved by a part of this game or if I'm just remembering emotions from playing it previously. But for some reason, this scene right here, where it zooms out and shows just the squalor that people live in under the plates, like it just, I don't know, it gets me. Really fucking gets me. I love it. Do I like the new threat mod? No, I was talking about that earlier. I like the backgrounds. I don't like the changes they made to the 3D models. So this is the interesting thing. So why I don't like the 3D models is not just because, oh, it's not like the original. The backgrounds were proportionally made specifically to allow for these 3D models to look good and to look proportionally correct. Whereas in a lot of the remake mods, you have like a fully proportioned Cloud, and it doesn't work because he's standing inside of this train and it makes it look like he must be 3'4". Whereas these kind of like chibitized, super deformed models make a lot more sense with the dimensions of the backgrounds they're placed in front of. Loveless is explained best in the OG while Cloud is in a coma and Sid mentions it. Yeah, and that's only like, what, 6 boxes of dialogue too? So it just seems like that was not something that needed to be expanded upon, in my opinion. Honeybee killed Remake for me. Honestly, I found the Honeybee Inn section and the whole Walmart section to be the most interesting part of Remake, which is weird because it had the least amount of combat. I think the combat in Remake is actually pretty cool if they would get out of their own way and allow the combat to take place. But, okay, so you have this fast frame. Okay, hold on, we have to wait. This is my cutscene. It's just the music, the somber tone, and then you see these shanty towns, and you're just like, Jesus Christ. This game knew how to pluck every fucking heartstring. I am the master of nostalgia, and I forgot what I was talking about. I totally forgot what the fuck I was talking about. Oh, Honeybee Inn. Yeah, honestly, that dance scene, it totally out of character for the game, but so is every like, what you call it, mini game in a Final Fantasy game, obviously. Like, they're all going to be totally out of character and not fit the feeling of the game they're in. But that dancing scene, I fucking loved it. I am unapologetic. I loved it. Azir Airt? Man, that's hard to say. Yeah, pre-rendered backgrounds are where it's at. Forever, always. Why'd they replace Walmart theme with a worse one? See, that's the thing, is when you remake a song, people they're not going to want a one-to-one remake of music, because music is a lot more linear than, say, I don't know, storytelling is, right? So when you remake a song, you run the risk of it not feeling like the original. And with music, the feel is all that matters. And while some people may have separate interpretations for the meaning of a song, listening to this right now, I think it's universally agreed upon. This is a somber, melancholic tune, right? And in Remake, if you take a somber, melancholic tune and allow somebody else to dip their pen in the ink and make some changes, that feeling might get changed, and then that section of the game gets changed. It's such an important factor. It's insane. You made some great points about the battle system in Remake. I haven't heard another critique that was as spot on. Oh, that's awesome to hear. Fuck yeah. And now that the video is out, I'm more likely to bitch and moan, but genuinely the purpose of that video wasn't so much to denigrate 7 as a remake, but to show how well it worked originally and how almost close to perfection it was as far as video game storytelling goes, to the point where the remake is actually of lesser quality because it can't get to that same level, you know? The remake has led to some people thinking that the term remake is something that can be interpreted. Slappy422, I wish I could marry you right now. Yes, and that is fucking bullshit. The English language, we have definitions for words for a fucking reason. People are like, well, remakes don't always have to be the same. Yeah, by fucking definition they do. Are you out of your goddamn mind? If I told you, hey, I'm gonna take your car that you use for work every day and remake it into a bike, you'd be like, that's not a remake at all. You're just changing it at that point. You're making something new. That's what the modern idea of a remake is. It's like, oh, we can't do the same thing again. Why the fuck not? Why, I don't understand that. Why is that seen as such a bad thing nowadays? Oh, just be the same thing again. Oh, just a record-breaking, world-famous video game. We get it again. Oh, it'd be so bad. How terrible would it be if we had a really awesome video game and then we're guaranteed another really awesome video game that was just like it? Oh, I'd be so mad about that. I'm all for remakes taking creative liberties within reason. Like, for example, most people tend to agree the Resident Evil remake was one of the best remakes ever made, and it changed very, very minute aspects of the story, aspects of the gameplay, aspects of the game itself. But the changes were made in such a small way that it still felt like the original Resident Evil. They did not do that with modern day remake of FF7. They essentially made a completely different game that banks on you being very familiar with what happened in the original. And that seems to me like a really fucking stupid idea. I'm gonna lie to her. God, I love this fucking music. I just passed Johnny. Yeah, there's like 30 Johnnies in this game, though, to be fair. We'll come across him again. Danny Hang, I agree with you so hard right now. See, it's worth getting the dislikes if I find a few people who I can like talk to this stuff about that agrees with me, because it's not often that I say something that people agree with. Sounds like you're confusing remaster with remake. No, absolutely not. A remaster makes a lot of sense that it would be like the original, but a remaster denotes not changing anything at all, and also not changing core things. For example, if I were to take this, play it on PC at 1080p on emulator, it would technically be remastering it, right? But what a remake is a brand new shell for an existing product. Like, you take me moving Cloud up and down this floor, but instead of moving this character graphic of Cloud, I'm moving a more advanced one with more polygons and more shader operations capable, right? Like, that's what a remake is. You're taking assets that already existed and remaking them in the same spirit that they already existed in. Whereas a remaster is you take the same exact thing and then it is still the same exact thing. I don't want any other RE remakes. I'm just kind of done. I get that, but I've enjoyed all of them. So I guess I would agree with you technically, but I'm also pretty... I'm enough of a hypocrite to admit if I like it and I don't agree with its existence, I'll still enjoy it. You know what I mean? What track in the original FF7 was your favorite? Mine was a Cosmo Canyon theme. Ooh, that's a good question. Huh. Okay, so it's probably between two tracks. And it's very basic bitch, I know. Aeris's death theme, or Aerith, whichever one you want to go with. I'm an Aeris man myself. That and Wall Market's theme song. I would say those two. Just two opposite ends of the spectrum, you know? This was not a remake or remaster, more of a reboot. Yeah, it was, and that's kind of fucked up to pull on people, honestly. I want another RE spin-off game. You and me both, mister. Oh, God. Like, they could do so much. Like, the series is such a wide open thing now. Like, a new side game in RE would be fucking incredible. Batman 89 on Blu-ray, remaster, Batman Begins, remake. No, because I would say Batman Begins alters so much of the structure of the original Batman movie. See, this is the problem too. Your comparison is between two things that are very different, because the origin story of Batman has changed so much over the years, and even in both of those movies, there's liberties that have been taken. Like, I would say the Batman 89 remaster, obviously, okay, so you have a Blu-ray transfer, that's a remaster. If you were to make that same exact movie, but Bruce Wayne's name was different, and you altered the characters for every single person that shows up, you know, I would argue that's not so much of a remake as it is a new property. If Square is going to change things so much, they should have made a disc remake, one with whatever changes they want, whatever, and disc 1-to-1 upscale. You know, okay, so the unrealistic part of me totally agrees with you, but the realistic part of me knows that they will not spend that kind of money on that type of shit for us. It's like I said in the video, for those of you who don't know, I made it a very big point to sort of gracefully accept the idea that people who in the chat that so far have agreed with me, we don't really matter that much anymore. It sucks to say, we really don't. We don't have any buying power anymore. This is the interesting thing. Video games in the 80s and 90s were big as a small boutique type of thing. Like, they ran numbers for sure, but they weren't in the mainstream by a long shot. Now, what we have currently, our video games are very much in the mainstream. They are as mainstream as movies and TV, I would say. As a matter of fact, video games outpaced the movie industry as far as finances go since like 2016 and on. So we're doing well, but the problem is, with that many new faces coming into the scene, we no longer hold the value we used to have. Those of us who played the original, who appreciate the original, who want the original, people who enjoy turn-based JRPGs are not the majority by a long shot, and it's not financially viable to appeal to us anymore. And that sucks. That sucks hard. And the only real way to change that is to A, have a more involved indie scene, which we do have to a degree, or to make games less expensive so that they can market towards smaller groups. And I don't think a big budget AAA company like Squaresoft is willing to put out a lesser high quality product so that it can please a very small portion of their fan base. You know what I mean? Out of curiosity, why are the changes in RE2 and 3 remake acceptable in your eyes, while what FF7 remake changed was bad? Well, first off, with RE2 and 3, they didn't make a lot of changes to actual storyline content, but they made a lot of changes to the time at which that story is given to you. So in RE2 original, a cutscene happens at a certain specific portion of the game, whereas in RE2 remake, that cutscene doesn't play until maybe later on or maybe earlier, right? But the general story beats are all almost exactly the same, with the exception of furthering into Chief Irons as a character. And I think that's about it. A few alterations in Ada's, like, not so much reasons for being there, but how much she divulges. So there aren't a lot of changes, but I will say that I made this very clear in both of my videos, I prefer the originals. Like, the originals were the better games for me. These games are very fun and interesting, and I like them a lot because of how close they stuck to the originals. 7 does not do that. And Jared, everything you're saying is true, and you're making me feel sad and old. Welcome to Avalanche Reviews. That is the service I perform for people. The Paper Mario franchise is a victim of the point you're making. Oh yeah, see there. It's like Nintendo fans are a pretty big portion of the game buying population, but that small portion of that subset that enjoy Paper Mario games, just it's not financially viable anymore. It sucks. How old was I the first time I played FF7? That is a hard question to answer because I'm not 100% sure how old I am right now, because I think I'm 34, but I might be 35. So I played it at launch. So when did it come out? 97? How old was I in 97? I'm 34 or 35 right now. Someone crunch those numbers. The perfect slogan for making a remake: reinvent, add but not cut. See, but this is the issue, and I agree with you to a degree, but I think if you add too much, like they did with FF7, you stand the chance of over-explaining a concept that was simple for a reason, right? Avalanche reviews: come for the nostalgia, stay for the crushing self-awareness. Who said Batman's body is toxic? How is it toxic to want someone to be jacked? I'm pretty big. I don't think that's toxic. You know what's a good episode of South Park? Jimmy and Timmy joining the Crips and getting involved in Blood vs. Crips War. I agree with you. I don't know what that has to do with FF7, but you are absolutely right. Arbiters of Fate may play a role in COM when character DLC comes out. Each character in Remake only has 6 weapons with 1 weapon slot empty. The Arbiters of the... What is it? Arbiters of the Fate? That's probably the absolute dumbest idea that I could fucking imagine to put into a Final Fantasy VII game. It's like they had a whiteboard with just a list of the stupidest ideas arranged in quality of how stupid it is, and that one was right up at the fucking top. Let's have ring wraiths like just fly in sometimes for no fucking reason. How are we gonna explain it? Oh, it's the existence of destiny itself is trying to stop us. Oh, dope. So what the fuck is gonna happen in the second game? The moon is gonna transform into a robot and we have to beat that? Like, please understand the idea of ramping of a story and intention and crescendos in action. Like, you are professional story writers. I should not be critiquing you on this. I should be going, wow, this is a really fun story. I'm making a story with Kevin, Ark, Leon, and Rebecca. See, I would love to see Leon and Rebecca in a game together. That'd be perfect. You're born in 1984 or 85, Jared? 85. August 18th. I shouldn't tell you guys that. You can get in my bank now. How old were you when you first opened up the pit? Oh, man, that's a good question. 16? You should rename the channel to Avalanche Essays. You know, I've thought about that because the reviews thing kind of harkens back to an older time in YouTube when you actually said what your channel did. There's no need for that. You could have just written it up, Barrett. That seems so excessive. Yeah, you know, back in the day with YouTube, your name of your channel would actually be like either A, your name, or B, what you did. And nowadays, it's a little more artistic. You come up with a name that sounds good and then you do stuff with it, you know. I thought about changing it before, but it's like, man, I have everything wrapped up into this and I don't dislike Avalanche reviews, so they don't even know what's going to happen in part 2 yet. It's all in concept stage. It's so fucking stupid. See, this is my issue. And you know what? And that shows right there, because at the end of FF7, it plays like a game for a story that hasn't been written yet. And it's like, okay, where are you going to go from that now? Because the idea of having a good story would be writing the beginning and understanding where the end is going to be. Because by the end of episode 2, it's going to be very obvious they didn't write the end of episode 2 after writing the end of episode 1. So it's going to seem like a bunch of things just haphazardly thrown onto a storyline. And that's what I was worried about. And you have just confirmed that fucking fear for me. It's not Destiny, it's us, the fans, and our expectations and want for the game to be how it was originally. You know what? God, that's depressing that that's so fucking accurate. Perfection is achieved when there is nothing more to add, but rather, is not achieved when there's nothing more to add, but rather when there is nothing more to take away. FF7 Remake should learn from this. That is a good axiom to... yeah, let's hit on Tifa, why not? I don't know what you mean, Cloud. I think you were lenient with the combat in FF7 OG. The trash mob fight turned boring pretty fast. You don't want to use magic because of ether limitations. The strategic part of combat is limited to boss fights. For the original? I don't know if I would call the random encounters trash mobs in 7 OG. I mean, I feel like as far as random battles go, they're paced really fucking well compared to most RPGs out at the time. Can I tell him you wouldn't understand? I don't have to go through the tutorial. I've never tried that before, actually. Oh, cool. I've always just went through that. I like to picture the dev team sitting in a writing room throwing darts at storyboards and just going with it. I feel like they would have had a better chance of doing something really well if they did that, honestly. Your last live stream on that day, I had just beaten FF7 with 90 hours. Oh, I remember that. That's right. All ultimate weapons, all ultimate weapon bosses, all limit breaks. I can say that I've done that for Cloud, Tifa, Yuffie, Vincent, Sid, and Barrett, but I have not gotten Cait Sith's final limit break. Because I do not like him. Not so much as a character, just aesthetically, I don't like him on my party. Does that mean? I feel it's mean. We're gonna buy some materia there, Tifa. Part of the fault is with us because we want a remake of something, but once there, wait, there's incomplete or so much change worth, but it's the product, like it or not. I wouldn't say part of the fault is with us necessarily. That's like if you expected your significant other to get home one night, but they crashed. It's like part of the fault wouldn't be yours for expecting them to do what they normally do in a insane situation. Like, I guess technically, yes, it is our fault for expecting this game to be like the original was, but I feel like that's a pretty understandable expectation, though, right? Like, people are saying, "Oh, I'm like the dev team was talking about cracking under the pressure of trying to deliver the same quality as the original." Okay, then don't change things. That would be the simplest issue to solve, right? Like, okay, if you have a game that was incredibly well loved and just people respected the fuck out of it, and then you're like, man, I'm really just going crazy at what I'm going to change here. I have an idea that will kill two birds with one stone. Don't change anything. At the very least, don't change massive amounts of the story and add a giant Destiny boss. That would be nice. And then on top of that, release a game that is the same game that came out. Oh, Historic Nerd, what's up, man? Yeah, I did get the AT2035 working. I have a Mackie Onyx mixer that powers it really well. But I'm looking out for that, Christ, what the fuck is it called? That mini mixer with the fucking dials on it that everybody uses now. I totally forget what it's called. Somebody will know what I'm talking about. Randall Hoggs, Jerry, what's your dream car? Yeah, I get that a lot. My name's Jared, but it sounds like Jerry when you hear it real quick. Dream car. I don't know. Skyline, maybe? That'd be nice. Which one of you guys gives me item box? He's gonna rap with you for a while. That's fucking cool. I wish I knew you could use an item glitch for sources back in the day. You know what? I typically don't ever use item duplication tricks in an actual playthrough. I might do that, like, let's say if I was trying to get footage for an FF7 playthrough or something, and I needed like footage really quickly of a part that's like 30 hours into the game, I might do that. But like for my own enjoyment, like I don't think I would use that. Same thing, I don't use the knife in Code Veronica because it's too much of a, you know what I mean? Like I don't know, I'm a fucking baby. That's what I'm trying to say. Stork Nerd, awesome. You sound, oh fuck yeah, man, thank you. Hell yeah, that's good to hear. I like this mic a lot. I will say that there are still aspects of my Blue Yeti that I enjoyed as far as simplicity goes, but you just can't beat. I like this form factor better, actually, fitting this on an arm. And I don't know. Yeah, I like this. This is a solid mic. More like T-rated Kingdom Hearts. Yeah, essentially. I was not sure that I would like having all the characters have voices, because I am kind of a stickler in that way. But after hearing them, I was immensely pleased with everybody's performance, with the exception of Aerith. I thought that she was a fucking garbage tier voice actress, and that sucks. I don't want to say that about her, because she seems like a really nice person, but her voice acting skills are fucking trash. And this is coming from someone who can't voice act, so yes, it is a little hypocritical. I want Mad Max's car. I don't fucking blame you. It's a dope-ass car. And Jerry from Avalanche reviews on live. God damn it. So interestingly enough, Jared essentially sounds like Jerry if you're speaking to Spanish people. So a good half of my family calls me Jerry. That makes you feel better. What the hell are you talking about? Code Veronica just fixed the knife so it can finally be useful. Kind of, sort of. It makes it a little too easy, if you ask me. It's not overly powerful, but it's definitely a big boost. Well, I guess if you already know the game as well as I do, it's really easy to stockpile ammo, and then things start to get, you don't feel that tension, and you're not as likely to like really get into the gameplay experience with that much ammo stockpiled. Damn, this dude had a cool fucking room with a sweet fucking leather jacket. Got a top and bottom rocker. That dude's a 1%er. He rides with some serious fools. Mr. Gone Fate Teen, title for the RE book. Thank you very much for the $2, by the way. Title for the RE book before the outbreak. Okay, so hear me out. I think you just came up with a fucking title. Resident Evil before outbreak. No, okay, that doesn't sound good. Before the outbreak. Something, I think you're onto something. Before the outbreak. Actually, that does sound cool. Resident Evil before the outbreak. That kind of, yeah, that works. Yeah. Did I ever play Chrono Trigger? Yes, I absolutely did. That was actually the game that got me into emulation. I never knew how video game emulation worked on PCs until I played Chrono Trigger on ZSNES. Barrett equals anime Mr. T. That's probably why he seems more popular in the remake. So I'll be honest with you. I thought I was going to hate him because I didn't. He got on my nerves a lot during the remake. And I would say after the wall market portion, I really started to like his character. Knife is OP in RE4. That is true, but it's baked into the gameplay a little more balanced than Code Veronica, I think. The knife is not supposed to be useful, though. It's what you get for wasting. Yeah, okay, that's a solid point there, Shark Boy. You know what? So I will say this. This is one scene that I was happy that they expanded upon. This right here, with Barrett getting into some Shinra, like, office worker's face. Like, that was something. If FF7 Remake would have been the original game as far as length goes, right? These are the kind of additions I would have liked to have seen. Little scenes like this, Barrett getting in this guy's face, or alterations made to conversations so they flow a little more fluidly. Those changes make sense to me, right? Star Prime says, "Hello, Jared. I've mainly been a fan of your Resident Evil videos, which I think are well edited and fantastic. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. I do try to edit fairly well, so I'm glad that actually shows through." I would say I'm like just above amateur video editor. If you had to rate things, like there's like amateur, intermediate, and advanced, I'm right at amateur. I totally agree with you about FF7 Remake, but what was the change that you liked from it? I did like how they added more of Jessie. She ended up being my actual favorite in the game. Yeah, I liked her a lot for sure. So I liked the expansion on Jessie's character arc. I liked that a lot. I liked the dance scene in the Honeybee Inn. I felt like that worked really well for the game. One thing I did like is how Materia A continues to level up. I thought they would simplify that system, and B applies stat buffs, but I would have liked to have seen Materia also apply stat debuffs, which would have been really cool. Like in the original, where you equip magic Materia and it gives you less strength but more MP and more magic strength. You know what I mean? Game Dev Meat Easy, what's up, man? How's it been? How's it been? That doesn't make sense. Jared, here's a hot seat question for you. Which is better, subs or dubs? So I'm going to weasel out of that one a little bit because it depends on what anime. If we're talking... Okay, so here's the thing. I will admit to you, I'm kind of a fan of bad English dubs from like the late 90s in anime. Something about them just have this heart. You know what I mean? It just has something to them that I enjoy. Other than that, though, I would say there are some anime series where you can count on the dub being better. Both Full Metal Alchemist runs, I think the dub is better than the sub. What else was really good? Cowboy Bebop had a killer dub. My Hero Academia, it's another killer dub, better than the sub if you ask me. Brian says, "Alright, I'm gonna head out to keep grinding, sleeping ball." You have changed that name, so that's a weird game to grind, by the way, but fucking more power to you, man. Keep the Baldy ranting for 2 hours straight. Don't worry, they will. I will take care of my part of that. Star Prime says, "I really wish Code Veronica was chosen to be remade instead." Yeah, you and me both, man. Okay, just like, let me go, though. Oh, there he is over there, see? Ooh, Resident Evil First Bite. I like that. Hell yeah. Go ahead, fucker. See what happens. Fucking busted, fool. I got 9 seconds. Please fuck off. There we go. Weebs don't understand there's such a thing as bad Japanese voice acting. That's true. And not even just, like, I won't say, like, objectively bad, but just voice acting that doesn't hit me the same way that a very, very talented English voice actor might. I think there are some roles that just don't make sense with the Japanese voice. It just doesn't sound right. Please not. Okay, fine. Yeah, you're fine. Oh, Jesse. I love you. I forget which game it was, but some JRPG back in the day, the whole party didn't level up. I had been using one party, and then later they got split and had to play others. The game got super hard. It sounds like FF6. They split you up a lot in that game. Some of my favorite Japanese voice actors are in the sub of Bebop. So I kind of prefer the sub, but that's crazy talk to a lot of fans. No, I get it. There's some that's... I mean, like, it just depends on how it hits you. There are certain, you know, English voice actors I don't think fit their role very well. Like, I'll say the voice actress for Tifa, Jessie, and Cloud, perfect, spot on in FF7 Remake, but the voice actress for Aerith, just terrible. Honestly, I was considering if I hadn't already been playing it in English and gotten used to their voices, I would have just switched to Japanese because their voice actress was so fucking bad. Yeah. Fullmetal Alchemist dub is indeed top tier. It absolutely is. Here's an added content. Jesse is on this train, as well as Biggs and Wedge in disguise. Yeah, just talk to him. Is there a game you played for many hours that was criticized for being too short a lot? I just 100%ed Shinobi on PS2, and it was bashed for being 3 hours, where I have 45. Yeah, there's plenty of games like that. Parasite Eve, I wouldn't say is criticized for being too short, but it's a very short RPG, and I have easy 200 hours in Parasite Eve. What else is a really good short game? I mean, Resident Evil 2, the original, is incredibly short. Did I not buy any hypers? Fuck. So I have this thing where I put all of my characters on hyper and never take them off of it. Makes the game way more fun. I swear, Jared, every time you say the character Jesse's name, I think you're calling... Ooh, now I know your name, Boosh. Who's ready to dox? Game Dev Made Easy. It's time. How's the Japanese dub of FF7 Remake? So I actually have not tried it out myself, so I would not be able to tell you. My number 2 favorite game, my personal top 10 games of all time list. Parasite Eve? Oh, you got a fucking solid list then. Jared, are you going to buy the FF7 figures? Those that are the chibi models? Yeah, that looks adorable as fuck, actually. So I was looking for FF7 merchandise when I was in Tokyo a few months ago. And I was like, okay, yeah, it'll be cool because FF7 Remake is super popular. Usually you don't see a lot of FF7 figures if you cruise around like Akihabara and the secondhand shops and stuff. But then I found FF7 figures and I couldn't find even the most bullshit, like missing one arm and one leg FF7 figure cost bare minimum of like 75, 80 bucks. And I was like, Jesus Christ, I was not prepared for that. One anime series where I honestly much prefer the original Japanese version is Evangelion. I'm sorry, but both dubs just weren't on the level of the original. Yeah, no, I agree with that. Shinji has a really annoying voice actor in English. Oh, you can't get hyper until Wall Market? Okay, good, so I didn't miss out. Do-doo-doo. 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 Best believe I could play bass to this song. FF7 Japanese voices are great? Fuck yeah. I think the next time I play it, I'll probably play it in Japanese. I was thinking about streaming it, but, and this is going to sound like such a dick move, I'm not crazy interested in playing it right now. Which sucks, because I did enjoy the game. I think once I beat it, though, it made me realize how much the game did not... Okay, this is going to sound stupid to say. Genuinely, like, the game, as it progresses, takes more and more of a shit on fans of the original. And that may have been on purpose in the sense that, like, yeah, we want to make things... We want to ramp up the differences as the game goes on. That makes sense to me, but if I had my way, I would just play the first portion of the game right up until you start finishing side quests in Sector 7, and just never touch anything else above that. PlayArt's Kai figures of 7 Remake are amazing. Yes, they look so fucking good. I wish they weren't so goddamn expensive. Boo 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 boo. Can I attempt to list my 5 favorite games of all time? I could try. Final Fantasy VII, Resident Evil 2, Parasite Eve, Stalker: Shadow of Chernobyl. Shit, there's too many games. Oh, there's so many fucking good games. I don't know if I could do, like... Because that list changes so often, depending on what mood I'm in and what I'm playing. Damn, I don't know. That's hard. I guess just Resident Evil 2... It's mostly PS1 games. RE2, Parasite Eve, Final Fantasy VII, Castlevania Symphony of the Night, one of the Stalker games. Honestly, just pick any of the Stalker games, and I'm cool with that. What else? Silent Hill 3 for sure. Just under that, Silent Hill 1. There's too many. I can't do it. It's too good. Parasite Eve is a parable about a woman coming to terms with her biology. It was intentional that the final boss would be an infant child. Yeah, it made sense to me. I mean, in context of the story, it made total sense. I hear some jazz vibes. Oh, yeah, for sure. They're pretty pricey at about $250. Full articulation and great detail. See, I don't like figures that have full articulation, actually. I know you can make them look kind of cool, but I like it when, like, someone freezes a figure in a really cool position and just leaves it that way. Because you can always see the little delineations in their joints. And I'm just like, I don't know, it kind of, it ruins the mystique a little bit. Oh, Wild Arms. Jesus Christ, that's a killer game. I will say I'm not as invested in that story as I am with other RPGs from the time, but that's a fucking incredible RPG for sure. Dylan Pruitt, howdy buddy, just got the stream notification, and welcome aboard. We are currently ranting, raving about what seems like absolutely nothing right now. There's never, like a theme to these streams. It's always just like someone will ask me a question, I'll go off on the tangent, and someone will be like, hey, how you feel about this? And I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm over here now. Every time Mr. Gone Fatine writes 808, I can't help but read it in that fucking Leon voice. God damn, what a killer voice actor. Fuck, now I'm depressed. God damn it, Mr. Gone Fatine. You've depressed me. I hope you're happy. So here's a fun story. I actually got to meet Nobuo Uematsu, who turns out to be a really goofy, fun-loving motherfucker. Oh, hold on, guys. I gotta put in my PS1 memory card. I forgot about that. That's better. Tony Hawk's Underground is the best. You picked a really weird way to spell Tony Hawk 2. Hey Avalanche, have you played either Rule of Rose or Haunting Grounds? Not gonna lie, would be absolutely down for RE retrospective style videos on them. I do plan on covering those, and I've actually never played them, so that'll be fun. Legend of Dragoon needs a remake? Fuck, it needs a stream is what it needs. I need to start playing that on here. Azure Ert? I'm saying that wrong, I know it. Actually, by bringing up FF15, that kind of brings up another point, is I don't think we're going to see the 7 remake complete. I don't think we're going to ever see the final episode release, because as it is right now, they said, oh, we have such financial problems, we can't even remake FF7, it's impossible. So what we're doing is slicing it up into, episodes, right? So if you're already banking on not having enough money to finish your product, and your product that currently just released did worse than Final Fantasy 15 in its launch, it's like, you're not going to do too well, are you, buddy? Maybe that's what you get for fucking your fans over. You don't make any money now because mainstream gamers don't give a shit about action RPGs, you fucking idiot. Oh, god damn it, Squaresoft. I wish I could slap you in the face. Just the entire company. Line up. Getting slapped today. So I'm getting back into CryEngine after not using it for almost a year. Damn, there's so much I've forgotten. I've heard that that engine is relatively easy to fuck around with, but I've never actually touched it myself. You can hear the pain in that no in the remake, but the original will always be etched into my mind. Yeah, no, it definitely is. And it might not even be Capcom's fault. It was just like that line was delivered in just the right way at just the right time with just the right, like, voice and just the right pitch. You know what I mean? It was just one of those perfect scenarios. Leon in RE2 remake is amazing. He is by far my favorite Leon. I could see that. I do prefer original Leon more, I would say, but RE2 Remake Leon does a really great job of sticking within that same spirit of who Leon was. He was altruistic and wanted to help and save everybody, right? And that still shines through with Remake. So I think they did a really good job at bringing the core of Leon's character into a more believable human persona. You know what I mean? So FF7 Remake didn't do well. It's not that it didn't do well. Squaresoft's idea of doing well tends to be pretty lofty. Like, I remember when Tomb Raider sold like fucking 5 million copies. They're like, it's a failure. You know? So it's not that it didn't do well. It just didn't do as well as Final Fantasy 15. And they considered Final Fantasy 15 a commercial failure. So, you know, you're not on the most sturdy ground at that point. And I don't want it to do poorly, but there is a part of me that takes a little bit of catharsis in someone doing something that seems directed against me personally and then like falling flat on their face with it. It's like if somebody pantsed you in high school and then walked away and tripped and chipped one of their teeth, you know, you wouldn't exactly be super sorry for them. Well, if that happens, Square can always release a novel. Oh, god damn it. That would be the ultimate admittance of defeat. Here's a book, guys. We don't have any money anymore. We're bankrupt. I can't believe Paul Haddad lied. Yeah, it's... You talk about somebody who was a massive part of so many people's lives and had no idea, you know? You want to hear how much of a jerk my wife is? She says Tifa looks stupid in a cowboy hat. I can't fucking believe that. Some of the lines, like, that was a clean hit and the intro was on point. Oh, for sure. Yeah, he killed a lot of those lines. I thought he was probably the more talented voice actor in Resident Evil 2. And don't get me wrong, Ada and Claire were fucking amazing, but I think Leon had the most acting chops, it sounded like. Tokyo Basis, sup Jared, first time tuning in? Welcome, Tokyo Basis. How you doing, man? Are you in Tokyo right now? What time is it over there? It's like early as fuck right now, right? Square needs to stop handing Nomura FF, or really any product, because he doesn't do great with them in general. Oh, wait a minute, was I supposed to plant a bomb, or did I not do that? I'll be honest with you, I haven't been paying attention. Paul Haddad was going to be, I assume you mean the perfect Leon, but Nick, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, did a wonderful job. Paul represents the naiveness, and Nick, the reality of the situation. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I think that's right. Love the new intro, by the way. Oh, fuck yeah. What was that guy's name? If anybody's looking for commissions, the guy who animated that for me, his name is Smash Tunes on Twitter, SMASH Tunes. Super nice guy. Got to me in a pretty timely fashion. Nice and easy. I was like, hey, here's what I want. And he's like, all right, here's what I'm working on. You know what I mean? It was a pretty simple process. Einhander. Ooh, man, let's play Einhander. Fuck it. That game, I always had trouble getting out of the first area. I still do, to be honest with you. I'm sorry. Tifa in the cowboy outfit is everything. You're absolutely right. It's my wife who is wrong. Trust me. I think it's fine if he ruins Kingdom Hearts. That's his baby after all. Yeah, but here's the problem. You give people this George Lucas syndrome when you allow them to remake their own properties. Like, for example, the only person I think that's ever handled it correctly was Shinji Mikami. You give him the keys to a Resident Evil remake, and he goes, oh, I'll make what Resident Evil was, exactly how it was, and then I'll add the things I wanted to add in the original. There you go, it's a perfect fucking game. It was incredible. But you give somebody who created Final Fantasy VII the keys to a remake, or someone who was involved in the creation of Final Fantasy VII the keys to a remake, and they go, can I alter everything? And they're like, yeah, I get it. Why would you do that? And he's like, nah, never mind, I'm doing it. Fucking assholes, god damn it. It's hard for me not to be a complete piece of shit with this kind of stuff, because like this is a giant part of me growing up. Like I've devoted not only a large portion of my life to enjoying these games, but a large portion of my fucking arm to getting Final Fantasy VII shit tattooed on me. Like I legitimately am emotionally invested in the series, and when something like this happens, it's really hard not to feel like these motherfuckers just raise the old middle finger and go, yeah, well, fuck you, Jared. You just gotta buy your wife a Cowgirl Tifa cosplay and tell her to put it on better than Tifa. Yeah. It could work. That's just crazy enough to work. Square can make the prettiest flower, but it's still not enough to make a game. Yeah, they have really pie in the sky concepts, but it's like, do those concepts work in practice? Okay, then maybe don't do them. Yo, first time. Who wants to fucking go? First time without an issue. I'm the best. This just turned into a speed run, guys. I like how you can essentially break the balance of the game by equipping all with Bolt right off the bat. What did I think of Nier and Nier Automata? So those are two games I actually have never played. My buddy Jimmy Hoppa from Import Gaming for the Win is always trying to get me to play Nier, and I think it's about time I give it a shot. FF7 tattoo, you say. Sneak peek. So I'm wearing a long sleeve shirt, and I'd have to literally take my shirt off to show it to you. And I think, would YouTube kick me off? I think they just kick me off the platform if I did it. You actually get a hand job in the remake. Do you? Did I miss that part? I mean, that seems like a part that I'd be really interested in. And Drakengard 3. So I have the Drakengard games. And I only... This is going to sound so stupid. I actually only recently found out that they are a part of the Nier... chronology, I guess? Yeah, it looks amazing. Plus, the main character's got a big fat ass, and that's always a plus for me, so... God, I love this fucking game. Just imagine the amount of music. Like, you're Nobuo Uematsu, and Squaresoft comes to you and goes, we need, you know, music like you usually do for a video game. It's like, yeah, okay, how much? He's like, a lot more than you're used to. We need to fill 3 discs worth of content with your fucking music. See, even in this game, like, Sephiroth is mentioned, right? And he shows up at the very end in the Midgar section, but even then, you have very little contact with him. And he's contextualized in this game as being so fucking powerful and so badass you could never touch him. Whereas in the remake, he shows up and everybody's like, oh god, what do we do? And I'm like, okay, I know that he's untouchable right now, but you've never said that in game. And I've been specifically focusing on trying to figure that out, because the whole game I'm thinking to myself, why do they want me to respect Sephiroth? They've told me nothing about him. He shows up immediately and is somehow either at odds or working with Destiny and all this fucking stupid, like, you have not contextualized any of this. That's an amateur story writing mistake, and it's not something a project with millions and millions of dollars should get wrong. There should have been someone that said, "Hey, I'm an editor, and by the way, you have this really important character in here that never gets any dialogue, and we're supposed to assume, I guess, he's the most powerful thing ever, but no one says that." And it seems odd for people to just assume that and not be told, I guess. You gotta stream in tank tops, dude. Show off the tats, my wife hates it when I stream in tank tops. She want me to look like a show-off. Personally, I like the new Final Fantasy VII because it lets me play as the other characters in battles. No, I agree. I thought playing as Tifa in fights was the most fucking fun. The only problem is I kept having to switch to each character every time I'd get into a fight. And it's like, oh, come on. You couldn't have me walk around as every character. Like, I feel like that's really doable. Tokyo Basis, that's unfortunate you didn't like the FF7 remake. I was mixed on it. I had no expectations, though, because I assumed it would be bad. Honestly, I wish I would. Well, you know what? So here's the thing. I started out my experience with the remake as trying my hardest not to expect anything and not be hyped up about it, right? I was going good with that. Everything was fine. But then I went to Japan, and those ideas went out the window because I ate at the Final Fantasy VII. I think it was just a Squaresoft cafe in Akihabara, right there near the Electric Town exit, and they were playing the trailer nonstop. And I was trying my hardest not to get super invested, but I did. Okay, good. So Cloud, you just don't attack and you should be fine. Ah, god damn it, Big Bomber. Fuck. We're gonna have to bring Cloud back to life. Oh, it's only one character. I'm an idiot. There we go. Cloud, why don't you use some bolts on this bad boy, please? I don't think he'll counter magic. Let's find out, I guess. We'll have you attack. Tifa, you will be our cure mule. Jared will take it off for a super chat. That is an assumption that is fairly correct. Oh yeah, give me that limit break. Fuck yeah. They said you can customize Airbuster in Remake. Did anyone ever see a difference when you tried multiple choice? You can take his items away from him, and I think the big bomb can be used in a fight, but I don't think it changes like his look. It just changes the fight with him, what attacks he uses. PS1 version is the only valid version. Yeah, I think that's true. Every track in this game, every track I keep hearing is just, it's too good. That was such a good transition too. Do you understand how hard it is to have a mask texture over this and then have characters over that and then dynamically change it immediately? Like, that took some serious wizardry. That's so fucking cool. I mean, the same mystery with Sephiroth was present at the end of FF7 OG. You're absolutely correct, but this is my entire point. That is further built upon in the next area within this full entire video game, versus now we're going to have to wait how many years for the next game to come out to expand upon Sephiroth? That's my issue right there. See, you could have had Sephiroth show up at the end of the remake in the same exact way that he does in this game, and it would have worked with the story just as well. You didn't need to fight Sephiroth. He didn't need to be working with or against Destiny and all this other bullshit. He could have just existed, and then you would have set up a very competent antagonist for the second game. But instead, what you did is you had Cloud, who is right now... I guess this is spoiler warnings if you've never beaten FF7 before. Cloud, this entire game, has been telling people that he's a member of Soldier, which he's not. He was never trained for Soldier. He has, like, Sephiroth's DNA in him, and then that's it. So he's able to beat Sephiroth from the very beginning of FF7 Remake, or I guess the very end of FF7 Remake. You've been able to best him in a fight, right? So why would I give a shit about him in the second game? It's like, oh yeah, I beat you before. You're no longer a threat to me. In this game, when you finally get Sephiroth on your party, you see how powerful he is, but not against you. Against enemies, he's on your party. You can watch him betray. It's fucking incredible. And I get that that wasn't part of the Midgar section, therefore it couldn't be a part of episode 1 of FF7 Remake, but hence my problem with it being episodic. Nobuo's music, and just music from that era of gaming in general pulls on your heartstrings. I kind of hate how numb a lot of normies are to video game music. They just don't get why it slaps. Yeah, I was talking about it before. It's a really interesting idea in music theory that a more simplistic, I guess, instrumentation of music is easier to get stuck in our brains, and it's easier to form an emotional attachment to something you can understand. And like a full orchestra with, 50 plus instruments in it is a lot harder for you to mentally track than this right here, which is like a few notes sprinkled across 4 instruments maybe. It's a simpler instrumentation of music, but the writing is just as complex as any other song. It works so fucking well. I've heard they might be releasing more than 3 parts so they can get them out quicker. That's even a worse fucking idea. We have to wait until she gets done. I love Aerith. I admit I cried my first time through. We all did. Even people who don't want to admit it. We did. Another screw up Square did with the fighting system, even though I did like it. Yeah, same here, exactly. Is how anytime you have more than 3 in your party, they have to make up some excuse to split you up. Yeah. I accept that, though, because you kind of have to for it to work as a video game within the constraints of the blueprints they built. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't judge them so harshly on that. It does kind of make it very transparent that it's a video game, which sucks because I really like immersion in video games where you forget you're inside of a game world and start like tricking your brain into believing this is the real world, which I know it sounds delusional. I'm not psychotic or anything, but it is a process you tend to go through in video games that you kind of fall into like this. And it's harder to do when little things like what you just mentioned are happening on screen, where you can tell like, oh, they did this because it's a video game, for this specific fucking reason. You know what I mean? On that moment, with that melody, the best girl was born. She died for our sins, man. She's essentially Jesus. Laughing my ass off. In Crisis Core, he beat Sephiroth. Plus, did you pay attention to the final part of Remake? Sephiroth blocked Omnislash and defeated Cloud. No, he left defeated. He disappeared into the blackness. So, I mean, you beat him in that fight specifically, and then you take him on as that was a really cool, by the way, an awesome nod to the end of FF7, but that just doesn't make any sense. Because at least in the game, you have the context of the game having gone on for the last fucking 80 hours, and Cloud is leveled up, and you've experienced him getting better, getting more competent as a fighter, right? Whereas in this game, we don't even know that he's not a soldier yet, and he's already going toe-to-toe with Sephiroth without an issue. It doesn't fucking work. I'd say my favorite RE track is probably RE2's Save Room. Ada's Death Theme is a solid one. And RE Dead Aim's Heroes Never Die. My favorite tracks... Okay, so Rebecca's theme song in Resident Evil 1. Obviously RE2 save theme. But I'm more partial, more than the same theme. I'm partial to RE7's... I'm sorry, RE7. thinking of FF7 on the brain. I'm more partial to RE2's main hall theme than I am the save theme, actually. No, he did not. He fought Cloud one-on-one after that boss fight and defeated Cloud. He hasn't even gotten to use Meteor or become a god yet at that point. I don't think that's right. Cloud wasn't defeated at the end. Wait, am I crazy? Someone else chime in here. If that, I mean, that's not how I remember it. I could be wrong about this for sure, but... Oh, Marshalling Yard from RE2. God damn. Honestly, point to any track in RE2 and it's incredible. It's the same thing with FF7. I mean, the only tracks that I won't purposely listen to in FF7 are the more jaunty, like, happy-go-lucky tracks, specifically for, like, the one that plays at the during the play in Gold Saucer, you know, tracks like that. Oh, Code Veronica has fucking incredible music. I'm going to say I didn't experiment with the game in its time. I was 2 years when the game released in 97. And when I was little with a primitive YouTube, you saw that scene. Oh, God. I am so happy that I was able to experience that scene before the age of internet video so that I could experience it for myself instead of seeing it online and having it ruined. You know what I mean? All I remember is him being like whatever and leaving it at a draw-like situation. Cloud wasn't defeated, but Sephiroth clearly outmatched him. Okay. Oh shit, what's up, fucking Bryhard, you son of a bitch? What's up, man? Interesting. I thought I could remember he got defeated. Man, I could be wrong. In Remake, Cloud is defeated. Sephiroth blocked his Omnislash at the edge of creation and completely knocks Cloud's sword out of his hands. That is bringing no memories to me, and I just beat it. That does not bode well for FF7 Remake as a story. Yeah, no, I totally did not remember it that way. But if two people are saying that, it's got to be correct. That's how I work. Okay, so in your position, seeing it on the internet like that is what inspired you to play the game. Fuck, it worked though. I don't know. I feel like, and this would be hard to experiment because you can never re-experience something for the first time, but oh God, I would just like, I would love to have had you experience that yourself for the first time instead of seeing it online. But I guess really it doesn't matter. You played the game, that's all that matters, right? Sephiroth literally could have killed him if he wanted to. Are you reading into that, or is that something that's said out loud? That's my issue with that. No, we probably shouldn't tell her to fight. She didn't even have any materia yet. Okay, fuck it. I never remember which one this is. Here? No, it's not this one, right? Could it be, though? I always fuck this up. Nothing much. Went on a walk trying to help a friend make his game. Trying to figure out where all my free time is. Send help. Yeah, with, you know, when the quarantine shit happened, I was like, oh man, I'm gonna have so much free time. And then I started working on more projects because I had more free time, and the amount of time that I had never changed. It's just the amount of work increased with absolutely no time to help it. I don't know. I fucked up. I should have been relaxing and sitting on my couch, but I started like 8 fucking scripts. I'm an idiot. Fuck. Where are all the black ghosts in the scene? Where'd they go? Yeah, we're the hooded specters, goddammit. It's not a real Final Fantasy game. It was what happened. Look up the end of YouTube that shows the scene after Sephiroth battle if you don't believe me. I believe you. It's been verified, essentially. I'm saying the whole he could have wiped the floor with Cloud thing, that's kind of you looking into that is what I'm saying. I don't know. I will take a look at it. Maybe it actually did end that way. I literally just beat that like a few weeks ago. It seems like I would have remembered that. But I am more than willing to admit that my memory is fucking bullshit. Sephiroth needs Cloud to change fate for him to manipulate events. See, that's just fucking ridiculous. Like, how come Sephiroth can't just be trying to destroy the world and Cloud's trying to keep him from doing that? I feel like that's such a clean narrative structure, right? Okay, bad guy Sephiroth, he's pretty fucking powerful and he's trying to destroy the world. You are the guy who's trying to stop him. It's like, all right, dope. That's pretty easy. Well, first he needs you to defeat Destiny. The entire concept of Destiny, the esoteric idea that is Destiny, needs to be physically defeated. It's like, oh, can you please stop making stupid decisions that I hate? Okay, that's the one I should have done. Albert Wallace seems to be saying all the shit that I would like to say if I wasn't so stupid. I did not mean to do that. The confusion on what happened at the end of that fight kind of shows the quality of the plot. Yeah, exactly. It was so unmemorable for me that it's a Final Fantasy game that I recently beat, and I couldn't tell you how it ended. I could tell you right now every little thing that happens at the end of the original FF7. All Saver music is pretty good from Resident Evil, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, not Dead Aim, but, oh, Christ. No, it was Dead Aim. Yeah, Dead Aim had a killer save track. I have a friend who absolutely loved FF7 Remake up until the final chapter. I've never seen someone pull such a 180. He's of the mind the game was made for people who didn't want a remake. Yeah, exactly. That's what I said. My opinion is that this Final Fantasy VII, as it is right now, was retooled both from a gameplay and narrative position to be a video game for newcomers. It was not made, but then, ironically enough, they also added lore that you would need to be familiar with in the original to appreciate. Like we were talking about all the ending stuff with Sephiroth showing up and him having no context within the actual game. Besides, I think, a few pieces of dialogue, but none of them actually mentioning how godlike strong he is or what his connection with Cloud is. So it's like, okay, at one point you have to be willing to play a new game, which would mean probably if you're a fan of the original, you are less likely to think alterations are needed, right? So you are already not the focus group this game is made for. Then they're like, oh, but we're adding all these really cool nods to the original. It's like, all right, but you realize when we bought a remake of the original, we expected for the original just to exist, right? Like, you're not giving us anything extra by oh yeah, there's things from the original in it. It's like, but it kind of should just, just be the original, right? You fucking asshole. The good one? Yeah, between the FF7 remake and the original. I will say this though, Bryhard, I think your friend was I think I had the same experience as your friend, because towards the end of the game, I was much more negative about it, and it was less about the gameplay and more about the story, because I thought the motorcycle chase was done really well. I did not like the Shinra building in Remake. It felt like I was more ready for the game to just be over with by the Shinra building, from my own personal perspective. While me and the wife were playing, we were just kind of like, I wish this wasn't so much gameplay and it was just get on with the story, which totally could be a subjective just me thing for sure. But I feel like the original Shinra building had a pretty decent pace to it. if you know what you're doing, I guess. That's coming from the position of somebody who understands like how to get through the building pretty well. So I guess if you were kind of lost in the original, it would probably take a similar amount of time as the remake. I just feel like that was probably the weakest part of the game as far as stretching out content to make a full game out of it. Sector 7, it sucked doing the side quests. In Wall Market, it was way more interesting doing the side quests. But in the Shinra building, it was like, this is just kind of boring to me. You know what I mean? I started playing Final Fantasy on the PlayStation Classic. So far, it's pretty good. I agree with your fucking assessment so far. Don't let that idea change, though. You better not hate it. What's your favorite RE? 4, 5, or 6? Oh, so you're choosing out of all the good ones, huh? Out of that list, I would say 6 is the most fun. 5 has the best setting. At least they didn't use Comic Sans for the signs. Okay, so don't get me wrong. I totally understand why that became such a meme. I didn't really care as much that they has said welcome to Silent Hill Ranch in Comic Sans. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't bother me as much as a lot of people seem to bother. I was more pissed off at, like, you know, issues with screen tearing and slowdown and all this shit. I was less mad about the font choices, I guess. I was really expecting Roche to come out of nowhere during the highway escape. Okay, so that's a little too weird, because I swear to Christ, the second that highway chase started, my wife goes, I bet Roche is going to show up. Roach, whatever the fuck his name. You know what I'm talking about. Wait, who was... No, Roche was the guy, Roach was the horse. That's right. I'm correct about that, I know it. I never actually played Witcher 3, I only played 2. But my wife is heavy into Witcher 3. I was a first-timer with a Final Fantasy VII Remake, and I liked so much I decided to play the original. If it gets you to play the original, then it did its job well done. You are now 50% done with Final Fantasy VII Remake. You'd be nearing the end of Chapter 8 out of 18. That's an interesting way to put it into perspective, huh? This video title made my stomach hurt less. What was the last one that made your stomach hurt? I'm wondering. Yeah, I don't... So... okay, for the scenes that he was in, I thought it was an interesting character, personality, him being insane and just... It was a little fucking wacky, though. It was a little ridiculous. But he was kind of cool. I think it's raining. Is it? Alright, guys. This stream just got a lot more comfy. Ah, let's relax. It's raining. Imagine a RE game with Leon, Ark, and Kevin. Oh, fuck. Kevin would make a fucking... There's so much untapped potential in Resident Evil that they just refuse to use. Like, you could get a lot of people on board. And you know what? You take a character like Ark, who really doesn't have a huge amount of personality or a huge amount of written backstory. You could do what you want. He's a blank canvas, you know? The soundtrack is insanely comfy. You are correct about that. I like the little Tekken 7 showdown they had. Nice mini-boss fight with Roche. Am I saying his name right? I feel like I'm not. I remember when Roche was first seen in trailers, and my friend went, I bet he's voiced by Troy Baker. He does kind of... He has that... I'm definitely going to be voiced by Troy Baker look to him. God damn it. I, thinking about it, I probably should have harped on this a little bit more. It just seems really fucking odd that he was in that one cutscene and never again. Like really? You couldn't just fit him into any other part of the fucking story? But that's another addition that feels like being made for addition's sake, because it didn't help elongate the game, right? It didn't help stretch it across to feel like a full budget video game release. It just kind of felt like, hey, let's add in this crazy guy because I want to make whooping noises for some, I don't get it. I think with Resident Evil games, it's just new writers coming in to add their own stuff. Probably. Bring Ark back for RE8. God, what a cool reveal that would be, huh? Nobody but hardcore Resident Evil fans would even know who he was, and that's the kind of move I'd like to see Capcom make. It's something where you don't necessarily have to bank on it for financial success, but it'd be a nice little nod to fans of the originals, you know what I mean? Random question. Do you like RE3 Remake with all the duration drama? Duration drama. I do like RE3 Remake, but I'm not sure what you mean by duration drama. Harada has stated that everybody has their own favorite Tekken, so it's just a mixed bag, to be honest. I never got into Tekken. I played a little bit of Tekken Tag Tournament 1 when I was getting footage for a PS2-centered video, but I never really messed with it too much. Agreed, but Roche will probably be in part 2. If not, why isn't Soldier First Class not discontinued like in Crisis Core? Okay, so introducing him in this game to have him never show up again, but maybe in the second game, still feels a little lame, but not quite as bad, I guess. I never thought about the concept of him making it into the second game, actually, which seems dumb now that I think about it. Games Dev Made Easy. Long story short, FF7 Remake was overhyped and didn't live up to the expectations, as well as added some odd changes that didn't expand or better the original story. I believe my video would have been a lot less long if I would have just said that, because that sums it up pretty concisely. He was like a robot boss with a tad of personality, but was useless for the plot. Yeah, I can agree with that. Listen, everybody talks shit about Steve Burnside. And yeah, he's annoying, and he says sorry. But there's something there. Something I might like. I don't know. Now that's a hot take if I've ever seen one. Anyway, Dino Crisis is better than Resident Evil, but after Remake 3, I'm not sure I want Capcom touching that. Oh, so, okay. But which Dino Crisis? We're talking about Dino Crisis 1, 2, or 3, right? Like, I would say Resident Evil does a better job of consistently being survival horror, but that's only counting the good Resident Evil games, right? It's funny that people kept saying FF7 Remake is going to make OG FF7 look like a summary. If 7's the movie, 7 Remake's the full novel, but just ended up making FF7 look like Dragon Ball Z Kai. Yeah. Holy shit, that's a really good comparison. Fuck. I might take that and say I thought of it, Bryhard. Sorry. Fucking Mr. Gohan Fating. Sorry about that. Oh, how I hate sneaking out of this house in both versions. It's pretty easy. Just don't run. In this one specifically. I actually failed so many times that the game just proceeded like, we're not going to get you to do this right. Fuck it. I kept running into shit. But that's another thing, too, is I thought... So, my big problem with Final Fantasy 15 was mapping the jump button, which didn't really need to be used in the world map, to the interact button. That seemed to be a really stupid idea. So when they had an interact button mapped all its own on the controller with 7 Remake, I was like, oh, well, there, finally, that's a good fucking idea. And then after that, I noticed every time I got to something, the prompt for interacting with it showed up just a little bit after I feel like it should have, maybe. And I would keep running past something, like say this piece of rebar that Cloud's standing in front of would be the interact point. I would run over here, hit the button, but since Cloud has momentum in Remake, he'd walk past this far and I couldn't interact with it anymore. So then I have to walk over here and hope that didn't happen again. And that kind of bothered me. But that's more of like a critique of the game itself and less of a comparison between the two. So I had to leave stuff like that out, sadly. Just show the chat log when you do. Never. I'm going to bury this fucking stream too. We're going to delete it from the internet immediately. You will not change my mind on Steve. Listen, I'm telling you, you guys aren't giving Steve a proper chance. Sorry about that, gorgeous. I mean, he stared at Claire's butt. He's a man who appreciates a big booty. You can't knock him for that. Endless Jess, love your channel, man. You're clearly a man of taste and culture. This is a comfy stream. Remake sucks. I would very much like to thank you for adding the Z to sucks there. That was much appreciated. And thank you very much, man. Happy to provide a little relaxed. Because I'm in the mood to be relaxed right now. It's raining at my house. We're listening to FF7. I'm in just a cool, calm, collected type of mood, which has not been what this entire week has been like. So that's cool. I appreciate you guys giving me a little bit of that. It was obvious from the demo, I felt. The battle system alone is polarizing. Yeah, I will say this, and I said it in my video. I think FF7 Remake was probably the best you could have done to take Final Fantasy VII into a real-time environment in a modern video game. They probably did the best job they could have, which is not to say that they did a really good job. Just that they didn't ruin it like I assumed they would have, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Delay on Cloud changing to and from Punisher mode. Delay on assets loading in. Yeah, that's what happens when, I think it's the Unreal Engine they used. It's like, why do we keep using the Unreal Engine if everyone understands it has always had the same issues with, like, loading assets in after the fact? So Unreal loves loading in low-res assets first and then high-res assets on top of it. But there has to be a way to alter that, though. There's no way that the developers at Epic are just like, no, this is how it is and it's going to keep being that way. Like, there has to be a way to change that. If Steve is annoying, where we put Moira, I'm just going to come out and say it. I kind of liked Moira. I thought she had a pretty interesting personality. It did get annoying, her banging the I Hate Barry drum over and over again, but I don't know. She ended up being kind of interesting, right? I don't know. Maybe it was her voice actress. I think her voice actress had a decent amount of talent, and that kind of brought me into it, you know? Instead of loading screens, let's walk for half the game. Damn, Slappy's hitting him hard. Oh, I see. I was referring about people complaining about the game was shorter, and alright, I see what you're saying. Yeah, so I did enjoy Remake 3, and I do recognize that the people who say that there are parts missing from it and that there's been content cut from the game, absolutely correct, for sure. I can't argue against that, but I will say the product that we received, even though it was lesser in content than the original, I still enjoyed. I thought that it was paced well enough to the game felt like satisfying going from one scenario to the other, one story beat to the other, right? I don't know, it worked for me really well. It was very fun the entire way through, and it was very engaging. Because you weren't in one place for very long, you didn't have a lot of time for things to kick in feeling normal, I guess. So I kept feeling that fish out of water feeling that these games are supposed to kind of give you. In the case of Resident Evil, like the holy fuck, I have no idea what I'm doing, I'm in over my head kind of feeling. That stayed around a lot longer because of the snappiness of the pace at which events took place in 3 Remake. You're blinded because Moira was kind of cute. That it's a possibility. FF7 powered by Unity. I couldn't do much worse, right? Hey, you're gonna make up another video on your thoughts on FF7 Remake. I would love to hear your opinion on the ending. I thought about it, and this is gonna show you what goes into being a content creator, or at least one that's as stupid as me. I have thought about that because I have a lot of feelings on the ending, but I didn't want to include the ending in my video because I wanted for people to be able to watch my video before playing the original and not have anything necessarily ruined for them. And now that I've made that, it feels not as organized to have another Final Fantasy VII Remake video that kind of deals with a very similar subject matter, I guess. I know for a fact that I'm overthinking that, and that is essentially not the case. But I can't help the creative part of me is going like, that doesn't fit right. That's not a good release schedule. You know what I mean? Did you guys feel that some of the dialogue in Remake was oddly timed, especially in Sector 7 with Tifa? It felt like some of the conversations had strange pauses. I didn't notice that myself personally, no. And I was looking at it with a pretty heavy critical eye. That was not something that showed up for me, though. Dino Crisis 1 Remake with RE6 controls, I'm sold. That's fucking solid. Getting your magic action canceled on hit and losing the ATB is the worst thing about the... Yes, absolutely. Plus the aerial combat does suck. You're 100% right. Yeah, there's a lot of dumb bullshit going on in the remake. Ooh, Mr. Gohan Fate Team with $2. Thank you, man. RE2 Remake knife only? My content is God, JK. Fuck, can we set it up to where... Oh, I don't have a... can we do it next stream? I can set it up to do that. Thank you for the $2 if I didn't say that already, by the way, man. Let me set that up for the next stream, because I don't know, I'm laid back right now. I don't feel like messing with my OBS settings right now. Just say your thoughts here and clip it. Oh, man, you know what I'm paranoid about is people are used to hearing my very... I won't say well thought out, but my thought out ideas and scripted, and just there's a lot of forethought that goes into expressing myself, I don't know, eloquently, kind of, sort of, but also in a way that makes me not sound like I'm a complete idiot, which, if you haven't noticed, is actually what I am. So I'm like terrified of people who watch my scripted content to hear me speak without a script, because I sound like a fucking dumbass when I'm not scripted. Gaming Brit did do 3 videos on Metroid Other M. Did? Oh, okay. God, you want to talk about a guy who needs to upload more. His content is so good. I just want to see it more often, Gaming Brit. Please. The road to the rocket launcher is so... okay, so my... fuck you. You're not closed. So if you were to take my interest in like video output and like retro video devices, he has that, but as far as like game design goes, as far as like the layout of game events and story situations and gameplay and stuff, he's so fucking good at that. Like the maps that he makes for each Resident Evil game, what item you have to get in what order and stuff, like I wish I would have thought of that, because that's genuinely a fucking killer idea. Such like a like a UK influenced ska sound. I love it. Because you have Jamaican ska, which has a very interesting sound, but it's very upbeat, happy-go-lucky, with a lot of the like British influenced ska. Very fucking like they take a depressing inner city feel to it. I fucking love it. RE2 equals modernized game design based on the original intent and design. Are you talking about the remake? Because I think you were correct about that. Hey Grim, subversive for the sake of being subversive is weak. Who wrote this, Kojima? I love the internet in general. I'm glad that I can sit here in the rain playing an awesome video game while fucking Bryhard and Mr. Grimm argue about subversion of video games. To me, the song always sounded Caribbean. Well, yeah, I mean, reggae got its... Obviously, it started in Jamaica, which is in the Caribbean. But, like, UK ska is a very reggae influence. So a lot of people who don't know this, so the original skinhead scene started in England, and a lot of people obviously associate being skinhead with you know, white power and fucking Nazi bullshit. And what a lot of people don't understand is that, who am I supposed to talk to again? I think over at the Honeybee Inn. People don't understand that the entire skinhead scene started as Jamaicans who had immigrated to the UK, I believe mostly second generation Jamaican immigrants who didn't want to be strapped down with this stereotype of the Rastafarian, you know, lazy, smokes weed all the time, pontificates about philosophy and stuff, right? So the idea is to fit in as a member of the community, as a working class person. So you had the rolled up jeans because they didn't want to get cut in any factory machinery, right? And then you had like tight clothes for that exact reason. You had a very working class attire, and the whole thing was about being like contributing to your community and visually showing that being the case outwardly, right? So that people would see you and immediately know, okay, this guy works at a factory. He earns his money. He earns his keep. He's a part of this country the same way anyone else is, right? That was the entire idea of the skinhead scene. And it started around, because when you think of skinhead now, I think punk rock probably comes to mind. But in reality, the skinhead scene started around reggae and ska. Very interesting. My man's giving a history lesson. Yeah, I like talking to people about bullshit. I'm really good at it. Do I talk to... Who the fuck do I talk to get this shit going? I totally forget. I tried playing Death Stranding and put it down after the first 5 hours. 4 of them were cutscenes. I mean, it is a Kojima game. You have to see that coming. I have a copy of Death Stranding that I really need to fucking actually get on and play. A buddy of mine actually bought it for me, so I need to play it. Probably going to play it here on stream at some point. Fun fact, pre-rendered backgrounds are put together like sprite sheets. Well, it depends on what engine they're in, because interestingly, Capcom didn't do that with the Resident Evil games. Their pre-rendered backgrounds used a really interesting way of, like layering the assets in a weird way, which is why when you upscale it, you see those black lines where they use like mask textures essentially to... Okay, I just had to talk to you again, you fucking asshole. FF7 remake is video essay bait. You're not wrong. Thanks for the lesson. Love your vids. Very much appreciate you stopping by for the lesson. Glad you like the stuff, man. FF7 remake Kimochi Warui version. The only Final Fantasy VII I need. You and me both, man. Hey Jared, what games do you want remade the most? That is a very good question. Um, I guess Code Veronica would be a fucking killer remake. Okay, let's say this. Let's say if we had to pick two, right? Code Veronica and Parasite Eve. Those would be the two big ones I'd like to see remade. But here's the problem. When you do a remake, you run into this issue. Speaking of video essays, you run into this issue where people don't understand what a remake is. And like I've said a million times, there may be some kind of weird colloquialism for what I know I didn't say that colloquial. That's a hard fucking word to say. You guys know what I'm fucking talking about. We may have thought of this like cultural idea of what a video game remake is, but the idea of a remake is taking the original and presenting it with remade assets in the order the original was in, right? So you run into this idea. It's like, if you have it remade, it could be a bad remake, right? So I used to be really sweet on the idea of remakes. I liked them. I know a lot of people, you write a huge video essay on YouTube about how remakes are, stagnating release schedules and stuff. And you're not incorrect when you say that. But I've always been more positive on remakes because I enjoy the things that I liked before just in a new shiny package. I've always thought that was really cool. That's the reason why I'm so interested in ports, especially going from like the PS1 to the Dreamcast, like Tony Hawk 1 and 2 on the Dreamcast. Oh, I thought they were amazing. Like, there's no texture warping. It's smooth as fuck, double the resolution. Like, oh, who wouldn't want that? But now you just kind of figure out, oh, weird. You don't know if they're going to remake a game correctly. So it's like, do we fuck with the original content and have it be kind of sullied retroactively by a bad remake? Or do we just kind of let it sit and be what it is? It's a rough philosophical question, right? For me, the Death Stranding hype was less about the game itself and more over what Kojima Unhinged would be, and if he was genuinely good designer, given how MGS4, PW, and 5 turned out. I would say, yeah, definitely. It was less about the game and more about Kojima. And I'm kind of glad that people see now what Kojima is like without a handler, someone to rein back the leash a little bit. And I think the next time he has a game, he's probably going to have a supervisor who's going to rein him in a little bit. And that will probably be a very good game. But if you let Kojima just do what he wants, he's going to do the dumbest thing possible that costs the most amount of money. He's proven that time and time again. Same concept, different technique. Basically, it's still a sprite base. The hard part is doing depth with them because of perception. Yeah, you'll actually notice some of the 3D models in this game, like these chibi models. Actually, when we get inside Corneo's mansion, I'll show you. There are times when they're scaled really improperly to make up for that perspective switch. I know a guy who thinks FF7 Remake's combat is terrible for the game, but would have been better suited for a Parasite Eve remake. Okay, so if they take away time passing as you're in the menu, yes, I totally 100% agree. It would have worked better in a Parasite Eve game in that sense, yeah. I will say that I would be interested to play the second FF7 remake because, and this is in the hopes that they actually do a good job of taking what they did in the original and learning from it. But I would love to see the improvements they make to FF7 Remake's combat because it is incredibly dicey for a lot of reasons. Not just, oh, it's not like the original. Dicey in the sense like, this doesn't play very well in a modern context. Like, if sometimes I get knocked out of my commands and I still lose the ATB from trying to perform that command, if that happened every once in a while, big deal, who cares? But if it happens at the very least once a fight and it takes a long time to get up and the combat is geared towards fast, frenetic action and a lot of the combat is spent not taking part in that action, it's like, it's not very good game design. I have to remember all the things I need to do. I just went through this too. Nobody tell me. I'm gonna figure this out on my own. Did anyone else love Tifa's Chun-Li secret dress here? Yeah, it's fucking awesome. Damn, she looked good in that game. Jared, thoughts on Xenogears? Oh, one of the best video game soundtracks of that era. Oh god, it's so fucking good. I really like Xenogears a lot, but Xenogears was a lot like Metal Gear Solid 5 and I guess Devil May Cry 4, where you could tell they ran out of budget halfway through. Killer fucking game, though. Very interesting game world, cool characters, art design was out of this world. Just checked all the boxes for me. This is the bar, right? Yeah, okay. No, it's your place. Got you back. I really hate knockback. I understand, but it's still annoying. Yeah, it's annoying as fuck. So knockback is annoying in most games. In a game where the intent is to have you constantly moving and running around and doing cool stuff, knockback really plays against the core idea of the gameplay. Like, so let's say you're playing Street Fighter 2 and you mash buttons to get out of a dizzy state, right? Imagine if Street Fighter 2 was mostly mashing buttons to get out of a dizzy state. The game would be made for like competitive fighting, but then you'd be mashing buttons to get out of a dizzy state almost the entire match. It would work against the design of the combat, you know? Where would you go on vacation? Raccoon City, Silent Hill, or cruise aboard the Spencer Rain? You know, I'd like to go to Silent Hill because I have an idea of how fucked up my head is, but I'd like to see some kind of proof. That'd be nice. Definitely not the Spencer Rain, though. I already have a bit of a phobia with not so much water, like not like drowning. I'm just like scared of scary sea monsters, I guess. Ys 7 was the last good Ys game. So that's actually the most recent Ys game I've ever played. So you might be right, and I don't know. Imagine if they announced DLC for FF7 Remake. I would lose it. Slappy422, they will. If you think that they won't, you definitely didn't hear when I said that it is doing worse financially than Final Fantasy 15. I think that we stand 70% chance getting DLC with FF7 Remake. And we stand about roughly that same exact chance of never seeing the last episode come out. All right, let's do it. I don't need any fucking practice, man. Let's get this. Oh, fuck. Okay, all right. We got this. We're just going to keep this pace the entire time. Fuck. Don't talk, Jared. You're going to fuck us. If he gets more squats than me, I am going to be fucking furious. There we go. I feel like I should have beat him by more than that. It's going to be Rush DLC. Fuck. The combat is way better than 7 or Memories of Celceta. Are you talking about better than 7? Oh, Ys 8 was awesome. I don't know. Combat 7 was killer. Wait, I'm sorry. FF7 Remake is doing worse than 15? That's insane. I think it's a much better game. I mean, they're very different games. There's definitely a lot more effort put into making FF7 more linear than 15. But I think 15 worked in a lot of ways. Ish, kind of. Sort of. Okay, so I have the wig now. So I should be good to go. I could get the perfume from that one guy in the bathroom. I don't ever give a shit about doing that. The music is the only good part of Kingdom Hearts. I honestly don't even really like the music in Kingdom Hearts. Yo, Jared, thoughts on Dead Rising? So I've only ever played the first one all the way through, and I might have played an hour of Dead Rising 2 on PC. So I really like the first game. I don't know enough about the rest of the series to say whether or not it's good, but I've been keeping up with it enough to know that the quality has been nosediving for a while. So Aya Brea's waifu material. Aya Brea is like workout partner material. I can imagine Aya Brea helping me get my shoulders bigger. The FF7 rhythm game. Oh, come on, Bryhard. I like the dancing game. I thought it was really good. I thought that was the most frenetic and fun gameplay part, which I guess is not saying a lot about the rest of the game. Oh shit, Grabahassi, what's up, man? Have you been here this whole time and I just haven't been paying attention? I feel bad about that. The dancing part appeals to K-pop stans, but I liked it. Added some fun before the heartbreak that you know is coming. Yeah. You know what? I hate that Twitter has ruined K-pop, because I actually genuinely enjoy a lot of K-pop, but I don't understand the obsession with listening to K-pop that sounds like American pop. Like, there are certain groups that do a really good job with having a very Asian sound to their pop, which is very electronic, very upbeat, very fast-paced. I really get into that, and then you hear K-pop artists that essentially just play like 2007 era radio pop, and I'm like, what's the point? Just listen to the stuff you already have for that. Like, there's some really good J-pop that I listen to, but it sounds like J-pop. You know what I mean? Like, it sounds like a different style of music. Okay, so here's the part that I was talking about. So see how squished Squall is? You can actually watch him get stretched so that the perspective makes sense. And then by the time he gets to the end, he's stretched too tall. Very interesting use of perspective there. I'm a casual Kingdom Hearts fan. I turn my brain off and just enjoy the gameplay. Everything else is pretty bad. And nothing wrong with that. I mean, I don't enjoy myself the exploration of Kingdom Hearts. I think the combat's fun, but I typically don't get so interested in any of the areas they put me in that I necessarily want to explore. There are games that make me want to explore, though, that do it well. I think that, again, is me fucking moaning about Stalker. I love the Stalker games because they put me in a world and almost never... I guess they do they don't reward me for exploring, and yet I still desire to explore. So I think that's a company that does exploration well, where you make a game where the game world actually draws a person and makes them want to explore, which is a very subjective thing, obviously. You can't prepare for everybody's taste in game worlds, but the stuff in Kingdom Hearts never gave me that. Like, oh yeah, I want to get out there and see all this stuff. Plus I don't know, the fucking let's all be friends and everything will work out in the end storyline just doesn't do it for me. Did I say Squall, really? I don't remember saying Squall. Wow. It must be getting late. What fucking time is it that I would call Squall or Cloud Squall? Fuck, I'm doing it again, guys. You can watch me right now just degenerate from... It's only 1 o'clock. It's not that bad. So I got a regular sleep schedule back. That's something that's happened to me recently. I'm actually sleeping at regular hours, so that explains why I'm so tired. Do I like Devil May Cry? Yes, I love Devil May Cry 3 and 4. And I'm just going to come out and say it. I like DMC. I thought it was a good game. Cloud was basically Squall and Advent Children. You're not wrong. You know, Advent Children, I think, is... You can track the downfall of Final Fantasy straight to the release of Advent Children. I honestly believe that. And it's not that I hate Advent Children, because I still, to this day, oh, I love Advent Children so much. But the fast flying around, jumping everywhere, quick, like, slashing at everything combat, that's what Squaresoft thinks people want in a Final Fantasy game now. And that's why every game that they've made since Advent Children, 13, 15, 7 Remake, have been fast-paced, real-time fucking games. I mean, 13 was technically turn-based in the sense that you gave the computer permission to continue making decisions for you. Yeah, but they kept trying to achieve that, right? And they think 7 Remake is like the final form of that gameplay. It's like, yeah, we finally made it like Advent Children. And the rest of us are like, we didn't want that, though. We genuinely wanted turn-based. But how could you forget Kingdom Hearts killer dialogue like Kairi? Kairi's inside of me. Who else will I eat ice cream with? I do no hurt. You're gonna be completed. I'm already half heart. Hey, Jared, you know about Darkside Phil? Yeah, he's a piece of fucking shit. Can't stand that guy. Not so much because he plays games bad, but because he is dishonest. I don't like people who get really far in life off of dishonesty. And I don't, and this is just a personal thing, it could be seen as quasi-hypocritical because I've done something similar. I can't stand hearing people beg for money. And I know sometimes I'll like make a call to my Patreon before a video or something like that, especially one that I know is going to be demonetized. But I feel like it's like making people aware that there's a tip jar near that you could put some coins into is different from going like, listen guys, I'm turning the stream off if we don't get several $5 donations. You know what I mean? Like, that seems scummy as fuck to do to people who are watching your content. It's like, these people genuinely enjoy your personality and your company for the most part. I mean, obviously there's hate trolls that are just going to sit around and fucking wait to clip something stupid he says, which thank God those people exist. But I mean, there are genuine people for some fucking reason that like Darkside Phil, and God, it just seems so scummy to just milk money out of that kind of an audience that actually likes you. Like, it'd be one thing if you showed up on the fucking news and no one knew who you were and you're like, hey, contribute to this GoFundMe or whatever. But it's different when you have an audience of people who just like you and already know who you are. I don't know, it seems like you're taking advantage of people. I think I just have to let them surround me, right? No? Okay. I guess I won't worry about that. Ooh, I got a sneeze. It's coming. Oh, fuck, I lost it. That's the least satisfying feeling on planet Earth. This is what this video game is made for. Everybody thinks they understand the true meaning of Final Fantasy VII, but they really don't. It's this. Throwing shade at the pig roach. See, you know what sucks about that? Every time I sniffle with my mic anywhere near me, I'm like, oh great. Acting like DSP now. Also, I don't like DSP because he claims he's like this fucking competitive fighting game player. And it's like, alright, if I can beat you in Street Fighter V, you're not good. Because I'm not good. There we go. Let's get a fucking limit level, please. Let's see if we can't kill all three of these guys, because that would do... Oh, fuck. If we could get that, what is it, X Strike? I forget what it is. If we can get that before that sewer monster boss that's coming up after Corneo, that'd be cool. That Down the Rabbit Hole video on Phil and Wings of Redemption. Yeah, so I actually... I have a Down the Rabbit Hole playlist that I play specifically when I'm building PCs, because I need something playing that I could pay attention to, but nothing that I will take my focus away from doing what I'm doing. And I watch Wang has some good stuff in that sense. It's just not as, I guess, detail rich. It's not a disgusting snort, so you're good. Honestly, I don't even want to imitate what he does because it's so fucking gross. Cross slash, that was it. I'm an idiot. What's X? What's X slash? Oh, that's Chrono Trigger. That's a dual tech. I'm an idiot. FF8 had excellent music, but I found the story boring, and junctioning is an Achilles heel. Yes, totally agree. Lots of customization, but no accounting for balance. Strange game. Yeah, so I think the idea of the junction system was very interesting as a concept, but I think it worked against itself, because I've talked about this a million times, but let's say I have a really strong fire spell. I have like Firaga, and I get like 99 of those, and I junction that to my strength. It's like, all right, cool. So I have really high strength now. Now I can't use Firaga, and I'm in like an ice section. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like the fact that, okay, I worked really hard to junction these spells, and now I can never use them. It's like, that seems a little weird. I feel bad for Spoonie. No, Spoonie's dishonest too. I don't feel bad for him because he's doing everything. He's like, everything that's happening to him was on purpose. I do genuinely believe that he has a mental issue. I just don't think it's the kind that stops you from making content, because obviously he got to where he was by just making content, and he keeps he's acting like, oh, I don't understand, I'm not making money anymore. It's like, you're not making content anymore, and people enjoyed your content, myself included. I watch Spoonie videos. The reason why I don't care, or I'm less apathetic to his situation, is because he lies about his health issues. That's just the fact. Like, he doesn't suffer from half the things he says he does. I don't think he's a hypochondriac. What is that? It's not Munchausen by proxy. Yeah, I think it is. It's like Munchausen syndrome. No, I'm getting my syndromes mixed up. But essentially, he likes attention for being sick. He wants everybody to know that he had a staph infection in like the 90s that apparently is going to kill him today or something. He's a fucking liar. I don't know. I don't like people who get famous and who are dishonest. You could do one or the other, just not both. FF8 had so many great story threads to work with, but because Nomura insisted on it being a lackluster romance story, we never got. So I would say not so much that it's a lackluster romance story, but it's essentially just a Japanese drama. And I'm not gonna lie, I actually really like Japanese dramas, but I don't think this one was a good one. If you go back and watch like late 90s, early 2000s J-dramas, you'll essentially experience Final Fantasy VIII. I think even the character design was made to be more in line with realistic Japanese proportions because of that exact reason. And he never played that copy of Tekken 7 that his loyal servant Cuxon gave him. What are we talking about? Hey, we did get cross slash. Fuck yeah. And yet barely anyone talks about FF8 or the romance. Really? I feel like... honestly, I feel like every time I stream, Final Fantasy VIII gets brought up. And very rarely do I stream RPGs. But yeah, I think that Final Fantasy VIII is a lesser story than 7, in my opinion. And maybe it's because I don't prefer the romance relationship stuff to this, which was a much deeper subject matter. It's not just that, oh, Cloud is into Aerith and then Aerith dies or something like that. Like, you know, there's a lot of deeper stuff happening under the surface, and it has to do with like people not truly being gone when they die. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of deeper things going on under the hood with FF7 versus Final Fantasy VIII. It's like, okay, so there's a sorceress that controls time. You're in love with Rinoa. End of plot. What is Final Fantasy even about? Scholars to this day can't figure that out. Oh shit, Artificial Instinct. What's up, man? Fuck, I feel like I haven't talked to you in forever. Bwah. Wait, you don't know the legendary Jackson Cuxon Jensen? I do not want to say that ever again. No, he is a martial artist who can shatter arms with one punch and protects Boss, aka Spoonie, who doesn't acknowledge him. I might need to look into that. That sounds interesting. FF8 story. Instead of Cloud just having amnesia, everyone in your party member has amnesia. You like when Cloud had that, right? Yeah, that pissed me off a lot. Okay, so like you can stretch my suspension of disbelief only so far. And then it's like, okay, these random people who randomly got together through a random set of circumstances all actually ended up being at the same orphanage when they were kids. And then the main bad guy was actually their teacher. Okay, that's going a little too far. Maybe like 3 members? Like, it seems odd. Like, for example, Irvin. Irvin was randomly assigned. There's no story beat that says, like, Irvin was given to them for any reason other than him being a sniper. Like, okay, we're going to give you some guy from another garden. He'll work with you. And they randomly give you the guy that used to, like, you grew up in an orphanage with. It's like, shut up. I'll send you some hot takes on Twitter. That's why I know I can count on you, Grabahassi. Albert Wallace said, "Hey, Pooh." And I don't know what he's talking about, but I respect it. Hello, Jared and chat. Bit late to the stream. Just wanted to say hey. Well, Cheesy Pooh? Oh, that's what you're saying. You're saying hey to Cheesy Pooh. I got you. I'm caught up with the whole context. I know everything. Almost every Final Fantasy game has characters with amnesia. It's incredible how many games use it. Well, I mean, think about it. Like, okay, put your mind in a position where you need to come up with a story. And then now, take what's inside your mind and try to figure out a way to tell it to the viewer or player of or reader of that story without having like a disembodied voice speak to them, right? That's really hard to do. But if you make someone in the world have amnesia, then another character will have to explain things to them, ipso facto explain things to you. It's a trope, but the reason why it's a trope is because it works really fucking well. It's like literary shorthand for, I have no idea how to tell you this information. Marcus Miller, big fan. Have you ever played Lost in Vivo? I have not played Lost in Vivo, but it looks interesting. That's the first-person voxel-based Silent Hill-inspired game, right? We have to rescue your dog. I think that's it. God, the soundtrack is so perfect in the sense it's not just I personally enjoy the order of the notes that are being played right now, but more than that, this fits this situation so perfectly. You could hear this right now and assume something ominous was going on. Like, this sounds ominous. It's the same thing when you listen to Akira Yamaoka's music. There are certain songs that play in Silent Hill 3 that I could assume the context of the conversation going on through just listening to the music. Like, he includes violin in the sadder songs, especially the song when I don't want to ruin it for everybody. When a character dies in Silent Hill 3, there's a song that plays with a violin, and it's played with a very whining, like, sound to it. You could actually, like, I think the song would play when someone's crying. You could hear that. You know what I mean? 6 did Amnesia best with Terra. Oh fuck, who should we? We gotta help Aerith, right? She doesn't have long for this world. Yeah, let's get it. Let's fucking go, fool. You dig it. It's a great tribute to the SH series. Extremely moody, well done horror. Yeah, it looks interesting as hell. Maybe I shouldn't have taken that materia off of Tifa, huh? Got an itch. On the old top of the dome. I think Tifa needs to be a little more hyper. Yeah, I guess it's time to use Healing Wind. You know, a lot of times I just won't choose an action while some of these limit break animations are playing, because I really enjoy the camera work during fights. It felt so dynamic, you know? Like, in every other RPG, this static screen right here would be all we get to see. It's so fucking cool to, like, just the way the camera moves. I mean, it's not going to mean anything to a modern gamer nowadays, right? But just being in a battle and having the camera move around was a big fucking deal back then. It sounds like such a bullshit, like back in my day argument, but you get what I'm saying. Like, the junction system is not right, etc. I understand that, for example, but if that is the only factor, it makes the game impossible to play. Long story short, the game is underrated. I don't think it's the only thing that... I don't even think the junction system makes the game impossible to play. It's just, it's not a very satisfying gameplay mechanic, and it makes up a large portion of how you interact with the Final Fantasy VIII's gameplay. Like, I'm sure it's possible to get through the game without ever junctioning anything ever, but that would be, you know, most people, or anyone, no one's gotten through the game that way on purpose, is what I'm trying to say. So, like, you could do that, but that would kind of prove that it's not a very good mechanic then. How much you want to bet, since they love changing things, that Square will have Aeris live? I don't know. I don't think they will. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think that's one plot point that they kind of know they can't fuck with. But then again, this is Squaresoft. I would not put it past them at this point. Damn it. One off. It always kind of pissed me off that for Cross Slash they did... Oh shit, it actually worked on him. Wow. Alright, cool. It always pissed me off that they do, like, alright, the side, the bottom, the side, and then the X. It's like you couldn't put the top on it, just make it a box with an X. Like, my OCD is killing me right now. My ideal team in this game. Okay, so Cloud, Yuffie, Cid. That's always the team that I used. Oh, fuck yeah, Tifa, let's do it. Ah, one off again. My timing is ass. What's a game that I loved but did not like the soundtrack, and vice versa? Ooh, good question. Game that I loved but don't like the sound. Why is my fucking head itching so bad right now? I'm gonna have to think about this. Damn, that's a tough one. Because if I end up loving a game, I end up loving the soundtrack. I guess I really like Resident Evil Outbreak, but I couldn't tell you what one of the songs sound like other than the intro theme song. That would probably be my first. Other than that, what's a game that I didn't like but loved the soundtrack? Okay, so I won't go as far as to say I didn't like it, but Donkey Kong Country is a fun-ish game, but I've never really been super into platformers. And I'm absolutely in love with that soundtrack. So I think that kind of fits the criteria. That's the best Limit Break team. Really? Fuck yeah. Hell yeah. All right. It's good to find somebody who agrees. My wife always really liked Vincent being on her party, but that's because she was an edgy teen at the time. Wait, how come Aerith didn't get it? Did that miss Aerith? Alright, fuck it. There we go. There we go. They did say in an interview that they'd keep the story the same in future FF7 parts, but then it's like, hey, why'd you do what you did? Yeah, it seems weird. If they're going to keep it the same in the rest, why did they alter it for this game then? It seems like an odd choice to make. What are you going to do? Yuffie represent indeed. She was such an underrated character in the original. Yeah, for some reason past Disc 2, I never used Tifa. Not really sure why. I think that's kind of a testament to what interesting characters they made. I was willing to use characters that weren't necessarily right for my situation or for my party, specifically because I enjoyed their character. You know what I mean? Like, I loved Cid's character so fucking much, and I love Yuffie's, like, happy-go-lucky, I'll rob anyone type of character, that I was willing to use them even though they weren't necessarily the highest level party members or anything like that. Like, if you aesthetically look cool, I'll put you in the fucking party. I could give a shit less if you're the worst character in the fucking game. Watch some Donkey Kong speedruns. Oh, you know what? That's actually a fun pastime for me, is watching, like, speedrun. Not so much speedrunning videos, because it can be a lot to watch someone actually, you know, play through a 5-hour game in 1.5 hours or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, that can be, like, kind of a lot to go through, but I love watching videos concerning speedruns. Like, oh, Christ, what's his name? Something Escape, Easy Escape? Content like that, where they kind of go over how things were cracked and, like, how certain things were beat, stuff like that, you know? I really get into that shit. Which is weird, because I do not like speedrunning at all. It's real odd that I would get into that type of content. Don't forget to steal the striking staff from Chariot guys in the graveyard for Eris. Makes her actually quite useful. Really? Oh, fuck. I did not know I could do that. Do I even have steel? I don't think I do. Or did I just pick it up? I thought that was sense. I do not have steel. Where do I get steel from? How could I possibly get steel? Was I supposed to buy it? Did I fuck up? I never use steel, so... I hate the Yuffie side quest to get my stuff back. Really? I never thought it was that bad. Tifa has so many chances to miss on her limit break for me to use her after Disc 1. Yeah, you know, that was a part of it too. Even though her limit breaks are really cool, it's just like when I choose limit on my screen, I would rather just have the attack show up. You know what I mean? Instead of me having to hit this, that, and the other. Dirge is a beautiful train wreck. I thought Dirge of Cerberus was a really fun game, actually. Like, it obviously has its faults for sure. Like, it's not competently made per se, but I think that there are elements of it that work really well. Oh, there's steel. Who has the best luck? 16, 16, 19, that's definitely you, Tifa. Which is kind of fucked up, because I don't really see Tifa as a stealing type, but, you know. When in Rome. You should have some materia just in case. X2 was the first I played. Wait, hold on. What? Wait, X2 was like the first Final Fantasy game you've ever played? There's no way that's true. Do I watch Summoning Salt? No, that doesn't sound familiar at all. Yeah, I thought X2, like, it has this reputation as like the worst. It's kind of like Mystic Quest in that sense, where it's like everybody's like, oh yeah, X2 is so bad. It's like, have you played X2? The combat is really fucking fast paced, and like I guess, involving. Like, you actually have to make a lot of really quick decisions with X2. And it feels almost real time in how quick you're executing these, like, really important decisions. Man, that game gets a bum rap. Although, in defense of everyone who hates it, the story is fucking hot garbage. And it is essentially J-pop the game. But gameplay-wise, I thought it was really cool. Alright, word. I'll get the striking staff here. Fuck yeah. Let's save it real quick and then... so what I'm going to do is we'll get into some fights, try to steal the striking staff, and once we get it, we'll call it quits. Because not only do I have to pee, I also have to sleep. Let's get this fucker going. Oh, also we might as well put Aerith on hyper. Well, we're going to lose her anyways. Why not? We're not going to really even use her past this point. Always had steal on Tifa, that and enemy attack. Really? I always put enemy skill on Cloud for some reason. I don't know why. Sometimes I get this feel. For example, with Cloud, I only ever use lightning magic, never anything else, because I feel like just he looks like he would have lightning magic. You know what I mean? A soundtrack I never thought I would like is Mad World for the Wii. Rap I actually like. I get into a shit ton of hip-hop. Early 90s stuff like the Youngsters, Onyx is killer. Obviously a big fan, Tribe Called Quest. Digital Underground. I was just wearing I worked out today in a Digital Underground shirt. I love the X 2.5 stories they made where Tidus kicks a Blitzball and dies. Oh, god damn it. X2 was it was something. It was fucking something. Like, I always defend that game, and as I'm thinking about it now, it's getting harder and harder to do, but it's so fun. Like, you just kind of have to, like, turn your brain off and be willing to have fun with a video game, and then you'll probably end up really liking X2. I never knew that was there. I just did that because that's cool. No other enemy drops ghost hands. Really? What did they do? I used fire with Cloud for some reason. So the only thing that's important about that is that you also limited him to just one type of magic, like my dumbass did. I would like to fight the chariot guys, please. Oh, J5. Fuck yeah. Mad people talking about Jurassic 5. Fuck yeah. Mr. Go on Fate Team with $2. Thank you, man. Have I ever heard of the game Ghost Trick? Yeah, that's like it's like a puzzle solving game on the DS, right? I want to say. I have indeed heard of it, but I've never played it. Seven takes place in the same universe as 10? Really? Oh, absorbs HP or MP? Yeah, I don't really use that much at all. X2 has that kinky massage minigame. It does. And I love, like, the way that she rewards you is by going, oh, and then hearts shoot up. Which is, as a lot of people know, is like real life. You know, Ghost Trick does seem like a Bryhard type of game, honestly. Am I talking shit? Yes. Okay, so let's go down here. No, get back on, and then there we go. Might be something there. Alright, these are guys? No, fuck you, assholes. Yeah, I like the artwork in that Ghost Trick game. I mean, that's essentially all I know about it, but the artwork looks cool as fuck. The DS was a really undersold platform for video games, because you could do so much within the limited style of like simple 3DS 3D and complicated 3DS like 2D sprites. Like, you could do a lot with that fucking thing. Oh, until the last screen? Okay, cool. Thank you for making me aware of that. It's annoying to farm, but it's the best weapon till Junon / Gongaga. Interesting. Okay, cool. I never knew that. I do. So it's weird when I play a game, and I've talked about this before. I'm more interested in playing it the way that I remembered it. So I typically will do the same thing every playthrough with a video game, and that's how I have fun. I usually don't get into like min-maxing and fucking I guess playing a more efficient way. Like, I never get into that. I always just enjoy playing it the way I used to. You know what I mean? God, I love this game and the fucking music. Like, there's emotional music out there for sure. You can listen to a song that will, like, it could make you cry, right? But, like, Final Fantasy VII just fucking does something to me. Oh, God, the music's too good. Hey, Hunk with $2. Thank you, my man. I wish the World War Z devs, or World War Z? Yeah, World War Z devs would be hired for an RE Operation Raccoon City 2. That'd be killer. I would love to see that game get more love. I wish the PS1's RE games would be released on Switch. That's weird that they haven't been yet. That seems like a pretty fucking easy way to make money, right? I just want a new Outbreak game on PC. Can't be that hard. Yeah, I mean, like, it would be harder than making a single-player game, but not too hard by any fucking stretch of the imagination. Like, this is Capcom we're talking about. They're doing really well right now. They're making a lot of money. It's like, come on, just fucking give us... Don't give us Resistance. That was a bad idea from the get-go. I had the Versus guide as a kid for this. That's how I know most of this stuff. Unfortunately, I lost it when I was in the army. Left it at my parents, and they must have tossed it. Have a PDF, though. Yeah, fuck, man. So I have the Versus guide for this. I have the Brady guide for, I think it was Brady that did 10, right? Either way, I have a decent little strategy guide collection that I really don't even look at anymore. I just use for the art. You know what I mean? You just like kind of glance at the art now and then. But it's very rare that I have to use one of my strategy guides while capturing footage in one of my videos. And that's not because I'm so good at video games, obviously. You guys have seen me play. Inefficient but familiar setups. Played the game 40 times over. Yep, that's how I burnt myself out on Tales of Symphonia. That's crazy. You know, I never saw that game as the type of game that people would like play over and over again. I mean, it's not that it's a bad game at all, but I think the only Tales game that I've really like that I fucking just fell into and really loved was Tales of Destiny 2. The US one, which is Tales of Eternity, not the actual Tales of Destiny 2. I do all my research after I complete it for myself 100%. See, I'm not a 100% completion guy either. I understand why people would enjoy doing that, and maybe there are some games where I kind of go towards that direction a little bit, but there's usually a moment when I lose investment in doing that kind of stuff. I think I've only ever 100%ed a game like once or twice. Like, no joke. I tend to stay away from that stuff because once I enjoy something, part of enjoying it is actually it being over too. You know what I mean? Like when you watch a TV show, part of what makes the story so good is that it's not going to last forever. I think with video games, I have a similar, I guess, approach. I don't know. It's fucking, it's like 2 in the morning right now, and I don't know what I'm fucking talking about. This is the area for the staff. Oh, fuck yeah. Thanks, man. Do you think RE1 and 0 have a remake like RE2? Will have a remake like RE2? So, I would hope that they do, because that'd be killer. It doesn't seem like a move that Capcom might make right now. But then again, I said the same thing about the RE4 remake, so honestly, who fucking knows at this point? I still need to play Tales of Eternia. I adore its intro. Great song, beautiful animation. I should just emulate art. You really should. It's a really interesting game. The fighting engine, I mean, so what you played in Symphonia was essentially the evolution of that Tales fighting engine, but it first started getting very fast and frenetic in Tales of Destiny 2, in my opinion. NB Dante says, good night. Thanks for the stream. Really enjoy your content. Well, I appreciate you stopping by, man. Thank you so much. I got a 100% in GTA San Andreas. Probably my best work at that. See, that's another weird thing is I really don't like open world games too much. I actually had some fun with GTA 5, but that's typically not the case for me. I would love for these guys to fight me at some point, please. The enemy I'm looking for is rare. Yeah, I've seen him before in this section. I just never knew they dropped that item if you stole from them. This is it. Oh, fuck. I wanted to, like, force it. You know what? I bet you $10 that this was a mistake, and I should not have said we'll wait to end the stream until... I feel like that's gonna prove to be a mistake for sure. I really dread the idea of an RE4 remake. RE4 is already perfect the way it is. I wouldn't say perfect. It's like there's a lot of flaws that they could improve upon in a remake, but I will say this. I think it doesn't make sense to remake RE4 because RE4 is the blueprint for all Resident Evil gameplay past its creation, and it seems odd to remake a game in the same style that it already exists in, you know? Like with FF7 remake, maybe they could justify it by saying, "Oh, well, it's real time now. It's you know, it's not turn-based." A lot of people, they were turned off by the turn-based nature of the original. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, I could, you know, I don't agree with it, but I can understand why you would remake a game like that. With RE4, it'd be like, okay, so we're gonna remake it, but check this out, it's gonna play the same. Because every game we have made since the creation of RE4 has been an over-the-shoulder third-person shooter that used RE4's controls as a baseline. It's like, why remake it then? It already works the way modern games work. Like Resident Evil 2 does not play like a modern Resident Evil game, that's for sure. And when they remade it, they made it play like a modern Resident Evil game, aka RE4. It just seems weird to remake RE4 in the RE4 style, right? I actually made my mom beat RE1 recently after she started it 23, maybe 24 years ago. Wow. Finally, now she's playing RE Remake. It's going, oof. That is cool, though. Your mom sounds immediately way more awesome. And attractive, maybe? I don't know. There's something about a woman that enjoys Resident Evil that just does it for a man. I'm not wrong, right? That's a common thing. Let's fucking steal from you. God damn it. Should I do this, though? I don't even use Aerith, and I've gotten through everything, honestly, without using her. But since someone told me this striking staff exists, I kind of have to follow up on it. It's going to go down as a mistake. I was playing the first Gears of War and couldn't help but think RE4 inspired the over-the-shoulder. I wouldn't say maybe inspired the over-the-shoulder controls in Gears of War so much as it popularized the use of over-the-shoulder third-person shooting, which before RE4 was not very, very common. It's not like it was something that never happened, but you just didn't see it very often. There were a few games that did the same thing around the same time as RE4, like Cold Fear, but you couldn't necessarily call that like an RE4 clone since it came out, I don't know, maybe a month after RE4. Yeah, that's a good point. Like, they'll remake RE4, but it'll just be RE4. Yeah, you know, it kind of seems like it doesn't fall in line with the same structure the rest of the remakes have had, which is let's take an old game and bring it into the modern era. It's like you already have a game that plays like a modern Resident Evil game. We don't really need, you know? Oh, okay, put cure on all. That makes sense. Killed the ghosts. Okay, so let's take that off of you then. Good job. Just back out of the fucking menu, Jared. Idiot. Okay, so put restore there. We'll give you lightning. Or you're fucking up my system right now. I hope you're happy about this. You know what really, so this is no one's actual fault, because I'm sure people here have actually, they did this. So when I made my video on FF7 Remake, and I talked about how annoying it is to heal people, everybody was like, yeah, but duh, you could hit L1. And I was like, how did you find that out, though? That's not in the game at all. I feel like I'm well within my rights to complain about something the game never told me I could do. But then again, I wish I would have known that a few hours into my playthrough. Instead, I beat the game not knowing you can hold L1 to do multiple fucking cures. Kill Switch was more, it popularized cover-based shooting than it popularized third-person shooting. I mean, because you could argue, you know, Max Payne games were crazy popular before that, and they were third-person shooters. But the third-person angled over-the-shoulder camera angle was just not used very often in video games until RE4 popularized it. Same thing with QuickTime events. I mean, they existed before RE4. Like, Shenmue called them quick timer events in its manual. You know, Yuzo Koshiro essentially invented them, right? As far as we know them as their modern iteration goes. But RE4 made it popular to put them in video games, whereas Shenmue didn't as much. I resurrected Aerith with a Game Shark, and she isn't really powerful or special in battles. Yeah, she was just Aerith. Also, don't talk shit about Aerith. No, I want you to go over here. All right, you know what? I can't I'm too tired, man. I gotta go save it. Sorry, guys. Jared, you need to have a stream where you describe what original game you would make if a top company let you be in charge. See, I will tell you this much right now. I am a realist, and I understand that I don't have a talent for making video games. So I have some interesting, I guess, ideas, but my problem is I'm not very creative, which I know sounds weird for someone who creates content for a living. I can't create a lot of things for myself. If you show me an example of something working well, I can usually recreate it, but it's very hard for me to come up with an original idea based on nothing that I've already seen. You know what I mean? So I'm not a very good creative type, and I don't know enough about video games to make sure that if I made a game that it would play well. You know what I mean? So I'm one of those people where I can't do, so I critique. Man, I'm break already, Tifa. Oh, gross. I just threw up in my mouth a little bit. You guys got to be here for that, aren't you lucky? Azir Ertz. So I gotta go. I'm gonna miss the scene. Good luck, Jared. Stay safe. Thanks, man. Thanks for hanging out. Without QTEs, where would David Cage be? Honestly, I tend to like David Cage games. I almost said movies, if that tells you anything. Yeah, they're okay. I think it was Hyperbit Hero that did a video on... It was either him or Gaming Brit. They did a video on the aspects of Heavy Rain that didn't make it into the final release, but there's certain plot elements that are still there that points at those things. That's probably one of the most interesting fucking YouTube videos ever. Because I remember playing the game and being like, wow, yeah, there's this weird, like, what's up with the whole origami thing? Why does it show up in his hands? Like, why does he lose consciousness when... and a lot of the more supernatural like plot points would have made a lot more sense if kept inside the game. I don't know why they took them out. Why did I talk about that? Oh yeah, because we were talking about David Cage. Yeah, I don't know. His games are pretty okay. I still haven't played Detroit, whatever the fuck that game's called. Do I think they should bring back Parasite Eve, reboot, or continuation? Oh, I would love it if they did. I don't think they ever will. I think if it was financially viable, if they could afford to buy the rights to the story of Parasite Eve, they would have done it by now. So I don't think we'll ever see that unless that story goes, I don't know, Creative Commons or something where it's just, I don't think we'll ever see that. Sucks to say. I really want you to hit Aerith, though, so if you could do that for me, that'd be just great. It was Hyperbit? Yeah, that guy, what happened to him, man? It's been like a year since he made something. Yeah, Hyperbit was killer. He's the reason why I want to play the Yakuza games. Like, I mean, you figure I would have played them by now. It seems dumb that I haven't, but I am planning a retrospective. It's coming, slowly. Oh yeah, 4th birthday, you son of a bitch. How dare you word it that way. 3rd birthday was surprisingly well put together for it being what it was. I'll give it that. Gameplay wise, that does not include the story was absolute fucking, I won't say garbage, it was just so bad. Like, who the fuck could understand what was going on in that game? I played it to completion and then played the ending again because I thought I just didn't get it. And I didn't, but I still don't know what the fuck was going on. And there's still aspects of the story that take place like, I don't know, 3 or 4 hours in that I just don't have any idea why it happened that way. Like, it was never explained. Oh, 3rd fucking birthday. Anyway, so you made it chapter 11 out of 18, the remake right here. I like how you're timing that out. I actually appreciate that. It kind of puts things in perspective. Get the Fist of the North Star game by the Yakuza devs. It's amazing. I mean, I did like Binary Domain, so I must just be a fan of theirs. Thoughts on Cyberpunk? It looks cool. I will say I am one of those people who did not like the Cyberpunk aesthetic that they choose to go with, which is like bright daylight. Because I'm used to the very film noir influence, like 90s Japanese cyberpunk style of neon lights and rainy, like moist street fucking, like rain slick streets with prostitutes walking around with like neon lights over their boobs or something. You know what I mean? Like, I'm into that cyberpunk aesthetic. I like the 80s like film cyberpunk look, and not so much what they're going for now, which is just it's relatively dystopic, but it's just not the same stuff that I'm looking for. You know what I mean? Wasn't there some absurd requirements to unlock an extra CG shower scene in 3rd birthday? I did not know if that's the case, but I'm interested in checking that out. I might YouTube that. That's definitely worth it. I remember the shower scene being like the main draw for Parasite Eve 2. Like, holy shit, fucking shower scene. Okay, there you go. Perfect. The Bubblegum Crisis aesthetic. That's exactly it. Mr. Gohan Fateen, great stream. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate the shit out of your fucking generosity. And now that I'm finishing up, thank you anybody who was sweethearted enough to super chat or to like it or to share it or whatever you did. I appreciate the fuck out of it because you guys are awesome. I am going to get out of here because I am tired and I need to pee. And those are two things that I need to take care of at the same time. I'm just going to go piss myself while I'm sleeping. Everybody have a dope-ass night. Please make wise decisions. Don't drive drunk. What else should we fucking... I got to think of something else to say other than those two things, right? Go make a wish at a fountain. I don't fucking know. I'm not good at this. Thanks for hanging out with me, though, guys. This has been mega fun. And let's do this again, huh? Me and you. It's a date.